Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another Thursday night edition of the Sports Crib. I see Demetrius is already in the queue. We've missed him for the last couple of weeks. Uh, I see an anonymous Bill Carroll here. I'm not sure. He's put the white screen up on us tonight, so I'm going to assume that he's going to jump on in a little bit. And Clint, as well as some of the other guys, should be joining us shortly. But here's Mr. Marsh. Dylan is on, so let's get right to it. First, let's welcome Demetrius. What's going on there, world traveler?
Mr. King, good to be back. As always, Thursday night just isn't right without the crib, so good to be back.
But this time you were stranded domestically, right?
Yeah, travel's gotten so weird now. You're never really sure when you're going to get back from somewhere, so it's kind of a crapshoot when you travel kind of on the night of a podcast. You want to have this confidence level and say, I'll be there, but it just happens too many times that you're just not sure. So, but it'll calm down and I'll be more consistent. So,
hey, but it's I'm sure you're getting ready for your own preseason with the Lions and whatnot, and we'll put in a plug for cornbread and Kool-Aid sometime before the hours are over with, I'm
nice.
sure.
Appreciate
it. But I see Dylan is here.
Dylan's trying to get on. He's not sure if he's ready for the smoke. Maybe I don't know.
I know. I see Dylan is also here. I'm not sure.
There he is.
I'm always ready for the smoke, baby. What are you talking about? Always ready.
Good to see you, Dylan. Good to see you.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
sir.
And
11 Bravo 138 is on. I know it's there. I saw the tie and the new glasses. He's here. He's here.
Yeah, look at him. I like those. Yeah, new glasses, everything.
Sometimes he just likes to remind us who he is. That's all he's doing. He just needs to remind us exactly who he is.
But gentlemen, let's kind of get started here. I covered a little bit of everything tonight. Whatever fits your boat tonight, we can kind of talk about it. But I'm going to start off here with the College Hall of Fame. It's first time ballot for Tim Tebow. I think it is. Let me see. Was it Tim Tebow?
Yep.
Mr. Alex Smith, and of course, the unanimous Ryan Leaf. So, gentlemen, do you think that any one of these guys will be a first ballot Hall of Fame, College Hall of Famer?
Oh, 1,000%. 1,000%. Of course, it's going to be Tim Tebow, right? And the dude was an absolute monster at Florida. Just, I think, what was it? I think I looked it up earlier. It was like over 12,000 total yards. And, I think it was like 88 passing touchdowns with, I think over 50. I think it was like 58 or something, like rushing touchdowns. That's easily a first ballot Hall of Famer. Two national championships, beat the living dog crap out of my Oklahoma team.
After dark yet. Watch it.
But hey, beat my OU team single-handedly, and I think Tim Tebow definitely is a first ballot for sure. Alex Smith, maybe, I'm not sure, but Tim Tebow for sure.
Bill, Dylan brought the stats. I mean, usually you're the guy with the stats.
Beyond the stats, and all the stats are correct, the 88 passing touchdowns, the 53, I think, rushing touchdowns, the over 9,500 passing yards and almost 3,000 rushing yards. All that's correct. But that's not what people are going to remember. They're going to remember the John 3:16 or whatever on the eye black. They're going to remember the speech, right? Everyone remembers the speech. They're going to remember the sort of like halfway between boy band and crew cut that he rocked. Like so many things that just told white America, look, we have one of our guys who's the best football player in America for a change, right? all these things that brought it back, right? And Timothy Dwight Tebow was and is an icon to many people.
Yeah.
And only part of it has to do with football. Now, let's be honest, football is only a part of his appeal, but it concretizes the hopes, dreams, and aspirations of an entire group of individuals, many of whom are sports writers. So I promise you, he will not have to wait to be inducted to the National Football Foundation's College Football Hall of Fame. He will breeze right in. Frankly, Ryan Leaf probably, once again, since we're clearly what you did as a professional is not part of the equation, he was a tremendous college quarterback as well. Very different kind of college quarterback. And then Alex Smith was sort of somewhere in between, right? People forget Alex Smith was a 4'6", 340 guy who had a 35.5-inch vert, had a 3-cone of like 711 and a short shuttle of 711. No, I was right. 3-cone of 711, a short shuttle of like.
What was his shoe size, Bill?
Like 412. He's an 11.5, James.
Why did you think Bill would know that? Did you think that was weak, man? That was a softball for Bill.
And his favorite ice cream is rum raisin swirl. But the point is, and he was a 3.34 GPA double degree guy. He got 2 degrees at once, right? Macroeconomics and city planning. But the point is, he was only a 2-year guy in college, and really not even 2 whole years, because he spent 2 years at Snow Junior College. And because of how quickly he went through college, despite the fact, unlike most guys who were taking 12 hours, he took 19 hours, right, of classes, and being Alex Smith at the same time. Super bright guy. Up there with close to guys like Ryan Fitzpatrick in terms of pure brain power. If he wanted to be working at a think tank, he could be. But for whatever reason, he loved football so much that he kept playing it. But this guy could do anything. He could be an ambassador to a major nation if that's what he decided to do. Super brain. So the guy, though he left school early, he'd already graduated and was working on a master's degree at the time that he left, despite the fact that he only spent really not even 2 whole semesters in college, at Utah at least. So crazy bright guy. But he didn't make the same sort of impact, unfortunately, that Timothy Dwight Tebow did. But once again, 2 years at Snow Junior College, so he only spends a short amount of time at Utah. If we were able to divorce completely the post-Washington State Ryan Leaf from the Washington State.
Try and sell us our
I know, but we should do that. Like, that's what, if we're going, we're certainly not letting the Timothy Dwight Tebow post-college color our perception of him, luckily. But we're able somehow to do that with him, but not so much, obviously, with Ryan Leaf. But Ryan Leaf was a tremendous but he's not getting in on first ballot. But obviously, he's already had his first ballot. So he's on like the 7th or 8th ballot by this point, I think.
Yeah. I think that it's this is the unique kind of Hall of Fame where it's really a Hall of Fame. Everybody doesn't just get into this, right? This is the thing where there's like 5.5 million college football players in history, and they've got a little over 1,000 dudes in here. So, I mean, Ray Lewis isn't in there. Reggie Bush might be different reasons. There's a linebacker from Texas named Derek Johnson who I always thought, he's not in there? He's not in there.
Yeah.
Warwick Dunn isn't in there, right? My favorite player ever in the history of sports, I'm saving him for my final thoughts today. He's not in there. I'm going to make you guys wait. That's called a tease, Chris. Just so you know. Right. You have a couple of requirements. One, you have to have been a first-team All-American to even be considered, which is not easy to do. And they consider your post-football life as a citizen. That's a high-ass bar right there. Like, wait a minute. So this is a real Hall of Fame. You have to be elite to get in here. And there's a bunch of people not in here. I looked at the list of people that were up, and I thought, wait a minute. And like I said, there were names like Ray Lewis and Warwick Dunn and Derek Johnson that blew my mind that are not in there. And I thought, wow. So shout out to the Hall of Fame for being a real Hall of Fame, by the way. And Tim Tebow's going to walk in on the merits of his college football career. I'm not doing the rest of that. Quite frankly, Alex Smith should probably get in on the merits of his work at Utah. That wouldn't shock me, even with the other names I read who aren't in there. So I think it's kind of an elite thing, and it's actually pretty cool that just everybody doesn't walk in. I like that.
it kind of surprises me that you said, life after football and Ryan Leaf is on there. That but Chris,
he's not in though. He's on the list, but he's not in.
No,
Yeah,
but
I agree with what everyone's been saying. I mean, I'm pretty sure Tebow is going to be a first ballot for sure, just with all he's accomplished and the citizen he's been off the field. What I like about Ryan Leaf and Alex Smith, just me being a little bit in that younger demographic, I feel like those are the guys who put their programs on the map. Sort of, Ryan Leaf going to a Rose Bowl and playing against Michigan put Washington State on the map. Then you saw Alex Smith and the career he had with Utah really helped that program. They end up in the Pac-12 now. So both those players had significant impacts on their program. I don't think that's going to weigh enough to push them to be first ballot guys like Tebow, but just something to consider for those guys moving forward.
Yeah. Sorry to welcome you a little late there, Chris.
That's okay. I'm getting everything together. I had to make sure
he's completely distracted anyway. We only have about 30% of his attention, so that's all right.
Yeah.
Are we not talking about that, Chris? By the way, are we not?
We'll talk about it bits and pieces.
I thought he did
for the Celtics right now, so we'll talk about the rules.
Just want to know the rules. That's all.
Yeah,
I got the same fit. So Demetrius, you missed last week. I was on very quickly because the prior night, my wife and I went to Paul McCartney at Fenway Park. So
wow,
that was awesome. But
That's
Celtics won that night, so I have the exact same fit I wore that night on. So
that's what real fans know how this
ready
works.
before game time.
Exactly, real fans know how to do this.
Yep.
You must be playing Paul McCartney everywhere right now, though. Because you got to make sure you get that set list going.
I got plenty of videos. Played some earlier today, so hopefully got the same vibes. We'll see. Looking good so far.
Chris, is Tony LaRussa going to make it through the season?
I mean, I don't know. They're in a real rough spot. I mean, of course, I think the White Sox were pretty much everyone's preseason pick to win the division. I thought it was going to be a tough division. I liked what Minnesota did. They were kind of one of my sleepers as a wild card team. I think the Guardians have been playing better than people expected. But I think definitely the White Sox are a surprise. And already seeing Joe Madden get X'd out of Los Angeles, even after they won 14 games in a row, was surprising to see. But to see that trend already starting, I wouldn't be surprised to see LaRussa get canned if they're not, in that second spot, at least above a few games above 500 by the All-Star break. I think that may be his deadline.
What do you think there, Demetrius?
I think Chris is right. I think a lot of this was made a little more hot take-ish because of the whole intentional walk thing, which I'm here to say he was right. He was right. I'm sorry. He wasn't wrong in what he did. I don't even understand that controversy. And I'm going old baseball fan, like you kids don't understand the way the game is played. I'm trying not to do that. But if I won't do a whole speech, but if you look at it, he did the right thing. A wild pitch got a guy to second base and opened up first base. And the guy at the plate versus the guy behind him, that's the evaluation you do as a manager. Versus lefties with 2 strikes. He has all this data right there. And everything said to him, I'd rather pitch to Muncy than Turner. Period. It was a smart move. It was a smart baseball move. And it didn't work. At the end of the day, it didn't work. So hindsight is 2020. Okay, Turner's hitting 303. Muncy's hitting 150 coming off an elbow injury. Everything says the base is open, walk Turner, pitch to Muncy. It just didn't work. So that kind of stuff doesn't help when your team is underachieving, because Chris was right. They were the favorites. They had every right to be the favorites. And they're not performing. When you underperform, you can't then do stuff like that because the heat gets turned way up. So my answer to your actual question, he does not make it through the season because Minnesota's playing well, and I think the Guardians are overachieving. We're not going to talk about my team, not yet. Not yet. Next year is my team's year, but
Tarek's School of the Beast.
Exactly, he is a beast, by the way. And I think I told you guys to remember that name like a month ago.
He's been on my fantasy team for 2 years.
It's fantastic. So yeah, I think he won't make it through the year. You can't be that talented with a team like that in a city like Chicago and underachieve. Underachieving just doesn't go well. So he's probably got to the All-Star break and then something happens. I wouldn't be surprised.
Bill, we're getting some feedback from you there. I don't know where it's coming from. Dylan, what's your thoughts?
Pretty much, yeah. I pretty much agree with both what Demetrius and Chris said. And to go back, what Chris was saying was the fact that this guy more than likely is going to be like a Hall of Fame manager, right? He's got 3 World Series,
first ballot, walk-in,
3 league pennants, right? And I think it's so strange. Think about it. Like 5 years ago, someone like this would be able to survive a year without getting fired, right? But what Chris said with Joe Madden, won all those games and then loses 12 in a row, then they fired him. Mm-hmm. And I think if that doesn't happen, he survives the season. So that's there. So that's going to get the fans amped up. Like, hey, let's fire this guy. If they fired Joe Madden, why are we not firing this guy? This guy hadn't won a World Series since 07 or something like that. Yeah. But to go back to that walk, I think from what Demetrius was saying, I agree. I think he was 100% right on that. Like when I saw that and his response was, why is this a thing? Like, why are we so caught up in this? But think about it this way. It's because people look at the fact that he walked someone with 2 strikes, intentionally walked them to bring up Muncy, and then Muncy jacks it out of the park, and he's an idiot. But if he does that and he strikes out Muncy or Muncy grounds out, guess what? That is an incredible managerial move, and we're not even talking about this right now. So I think a lot of it has to come with how easy it is to let go of successful managers in a later age. Yeah. And if you make one little mistake like this that kind of blows up in the media, it gives them, the organization, an opportunity to be like, well, you just haven't been doing well out of nowhere. So I don't think he survives the season. Yeah. But it's just annoying to me that stuff happens.
Mr. Carroll, what's your thoughts?
Well, in football, if you consistently create what should be favorable matchups, they call you a genius, right? Man, look at what Belichick did by moving this guy that way and doing this. He's a genius. Man, look what Andy Reid did. He made that poor Sam linebacker try to cover Travis Kelce. What a genius. So whenever you force favorable matchups in your direction and unfavorable matchups in the other team's direction, that would be something that should be lauded, right? We should say, hey, nicely done, right? Does it always work out? No, right? But once again, in other sports, we praise it. Oh, wow, he made that situation where Steph Curry had to cover Giannis, right? We're going to say that that's something that is a thing we should give accolades if someone consistently creates favorable matchups for their team and unfavorable matchups for the other team. If somehow Steph swats Giannis's shot, what are you supposed to do about that, right? I mean, how do you blame the coach? How do you blame the manager? How do you blame the schemer when the scheme should have worked and then it didn't?
Right. And the short-sightedness really is if Bennett Sousa doesn't throw an 0-2 pitch in the dirt, allowing Freddie Freeman to get second base, none of this happens.
Right. That wasn't part of the play. It wasn't.
If the pitcher executes his job and just, strikes out, the guy 0-2 and Freeman doesn't get second base, he never has the opportunity to do that. So it's a short-sighted thing of let's just say that was a crazy move because, hindsight is so easy, right? So hindsight's the best. You can just judge moves based on the results, which is always fun.
Yep.
Well, skipping on down here, Bill, it seems that Michael Jeffrey Jordan has hired a assistant Golden State Warrior coach as his next head coach. I can understand bringing, the winning concept and all that good stuff, but I think Michael's biggest obstacle has been Michael. Bill, is Michael going to let this coach?
Here's one of the things that we learned over time, and there's a great Oscar Wilde quote that a second marriage is the triumph of hope over wisdom, and so that's not me. I don't know who that is, That's definitely not me.
I think it's Dylan, maybe.
Oh, he's wrestling with his equipment. Okay.
He is.
So when you say to yourself, this compete-aholic, and we've talked about this, he is a chronic compete-aholic, was forced to find a different way to compete. He could have done anything with his life. He could be sitting in the boardrooms at Nike. He could be, he could have his own Legends League, right? Where he and a bunch of other dudes in their 50s play against each other for pride, bragging rights, and probably gambling money. And probably some of that too, yeah. And there'd be probably multiple revenue streams generated, right, by the Legends League that he would organize. I mean, he could do anything he wants, but he chose to be an owner. And being an NBA owner probably looks like way more fun than it actually is. I mean, I'm just imagining. Who knows? Maybe it's a blast. But my guess is, especially if you were the world's greatest basketball player, it's way less fun than it looks like, right? Because he gets frustrated. And it used to be he could work out his frustrations by dunking on Clyde Drexler or whatever it is, right? Or embarrassing, some lesser basketball player, which would be any other basketball player. But now he's in a position where his greatness, one, it doesn't carry over, right? It's not like so you can carry. Oh, you didn't use up that from the last thing you were doing. Oh, just bring it up. No. I mean, Jerry West had to learn to be great all over again at the new thing he started doing, right? It doesn't carry over. It doesn't follow you, So he embarrassed himself, I think would be the correct way to put it, early in his career and early in his tenure as being an owner, right? I think we'd all agree it was bad. I don't know where to put it. I think if we're being fair, he's gotten better, right? I think if we're being fair, I'm not saying he's great, but no, he hasn't got better.
No, I just hate him. I'm never going to say anything positive about him. I love that we're taking a question about Kenny Atkinson and we're making it a bash Michael Jordan topic. I can't wait till my turn. I love it. We're going to talk about the new coach at all. I'm allotting all my time to bash Jordan. But I'm going to let Bill finish. Go ahead, Bill.
Well, while we're running this play,
I have to remind you guys once again that Bill was an officer.
He
will take a long time to get back to where.
I mean, but you didn't ask about Atkinson either.
No, this is what you asked him. This is on you, Mr. King. This one's on you.
So I'm not off topic. You didn't ask anything about Kenny Atkinson. His name didn't come out of your mouth. You asked me about Mike.
That's true.
So I'm completely on topic here.
Yeah,
but I actually do like the hire, assuming that they are going to be patient. Their roster and front office and, frankly, everything needs to be re-evaluated and revamped. Everything about their organization needs to be re-evaluated and revamped. Will Michael Jeffrey Jordan, one, be patient enough to do so? Now that he's moving slowly but surely towards the back end of his 50s and close to being 60, maybe he's learned some patience. I'm not going to say he has, but maybe. And that's all I've got on that.
Dylan, will Michael Jordan let Kenny Anderson coach the Hornets?
Well, no.
He's not letting Kenny Anderson coach
the legend from Queens, York, baby.
Sorry, Dylan.
Lincoln High School.
Like, it's hard because, again, I kind of missed. We're having bad weather here. Internet went out for a minute, but I missed what Bill was saying. I hopped on and I thought he was talking about Michael Jordan, and I was looking at your schedule.
That's what I was asked about.
That's what he was asked. To Bill's credit, he was asked that. You can bash Michael Jordan. I think you should take this time and just bash Jordan. I think that's the new question. Forget the question. How do you feel about Michael Jordan as an owner? I'm just taking over the.
He is not successful. Let's go with that. I think he's definitely not one of the owners that is going to let these coaches be who they want, because Michael Jordan is Michael Jordan, right? If Michael Jordan had it his way, he would be the logo of the NBA. That's what it would be, right? Great, definitely, top 2 greatest of all time if people are gonna debate stuff, right? But for Atkinson, I think it comes down to, again, it's like, I understand he's the owner, but it seems like coaches who don't take crap from people are the ones that succeed, right? And I think him, coming from Steve Kerr, I think Steve Kerr might be the next coach that kind of starts having his branches, all over the NBA.
Yep.
And I think if he takes a page out of Steve Kerr's playbook and like, hey, like, if you let me do what I'm going to do, I'm going to make you happy. I'm going to make you some money. Is Jordan going to let that happen? I don't know. The past tells us Michael's kind of he's kind of, I don't want to say like a controlling person, but hey, the Bulls was his team, right? You could watch even that documentary that's supposed to make Michael look like a great, basketball player, or whatever, a great teammate, stuff like that. I think you can look at that and see how he's going to be as an owner, because if that one owner is not going to abide to his will, or that GM, all that power being an owner for an NBA team, I don't know. Best of luck to you, Kenny Atkinson. That's all I gotta say.
Go ahead, Demetrius. You can bash him. You can bash Mike.
Let's hear it.
As tempted as I am, because you guys see what's on my shirt, right? So I'm Bad Boys all day, every day. I share a birthday with Isaiah Thomas, for God's sake.
Oh,
I got nothing but bad stuff. Nothing but bad stuff. But I'm gonna respect the format and say that it's simple. What they did was, what they saw in Kenny Atkinson was a guy who back in 2018, 2019, when he coached the Nets, took D'Angelo Russell, who was a good player, actually a pretty good player, and made him an all-star. 21-7. D'Angelo Russell blossomed under Kenny Atkinson. What they look at is say, LaMelo is more talented, in my opinion, than D'Angelo was. If he can do that with that's what this is. And if it works, that will work. Because they've been a play-in team a couple years in a row. Now they got blasted in the play-in games, but they're at that spot there, right? So if he can come in and they can add more talent around him, and he can take their best player in LaMelo and do for him what he did for D'Angelo Russell back in 18-19, this is a good hire. And I'm proud of myself for resisting the temptation to dedicate every second of my time to telling you guys how much I despise that man. But I didn't do it. I mean, I kind of did it. But go ahead, Chris.
Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I think everyone's kind of been in the same boat. I think it's a good landing spot, I think, for Kenny Atkinson. I think the Hornets have a good squad to build around. Like Demetrius said, they're kind of on that fringe. We're in the play-in game this year. You got LaMelo, you got Terry Rozier, you got Gordon Hayward, Montrezl Harrell. Don't think he'll be playing next year, but we'll see what happens. So I think it's a good landing spot for him. Some interesting stats we'll throw out. He's, I guess, as an assistant, he's worked for 5 guys who won Coach of the Year awards, or they've won 5 Coach of the Year awards, and 3 of them have won titles. The other one was Mike D'Antoni. So he's obviously worked with some, great coaches, of course, the last being Steve Kerr. And I completely agree with Dylan in having Steve Kerr now kind of be a tree that's going to be spreading all over the NBA. So I think it's a good spot for him. But again, having Michael Jordan as a shadow behind you is a scary thing. And definitely stay away from the casino with old MJ. He'll be broke. He'll be broke quick.
Real quick.
Grizzlies extend the contract of runner-up Coach of the Year Taylor Jenkins. What are the most critical positions for them to pursue it to get to the next level?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Grizzlies are another team that have, a really good young squad. Of course, you're going to build around Ja. I think he, blossomed this last year. He really kind of took a huge step forward, and I think he's going to be one of those premier players. And then just kind of figuring out the piece to work with him. But I think they'll definitely be a team. I think they were a dark horse this year, of course, landing where they did, being the number 2 overall team. Of course, Golden State finishing 3rd. But, to have a guy like him, I think Dylan Brooks, we'll see where he lands. Jaren Jackson getting that big new contract as well. See how he can kind of respond now, getting that big payday. But again, Ja's the guy there. And, I think just building around him is what they need to do. I think maybe getting another wing that he can work with and then work inside to build some space for Jaren Jackson would be key for them for sure.
Demetrius.
Yeah, so I think the good news for them is that their needs are obvious. They need another shooter, number one. Every team in the league can probably say that. But Desmond Bane hit threes at a 43% clip, and nobody else was even close to him. After Desmond Bain, they're shooting. I mean, Jaren Jackson and DeAnthony Melton are their next two best shooters. They've got to get another shooter. They need a secondary playmaker because teams are going to force Ja to take difficult shots. That is simply the strategy. I like Dylan Brooks, but they Jones is on an expiring deal. So I don't know if you're going to re-sign him or you got to replace him. You need a secondary. You need a Chris Middleton. That's what you need. Yeah. You need a Chris Middleton. That's what somebody to go alongside Giannis like that. And then thirdly, as much as I like Xavier Tillman because he went to the greatest school in the history of schools, that'd be Michigan State for those who don't know. They play a lot of small ball in the West. They need a small combo forward so that when they're playing teams, because both series this past season, they got 8 up in small ball. And they need a solid combo forward, a guy about 6'7", 6'8" that can play 3 spots, that can defend and shoot the 3. They need a 3 and D. And like I said, more shooting, a secondary playmaker to Ja, and they need a complement for a small ball lineup because they're going to see a lot of that in the West.
Bill.
Well, if somehow magically I could put both Bam Adebayo and Bradley Beal on this team, fixed.
That's it.
Now the problem is making that happen. Obviously, how do you do that? They do have some pieces that they could possibly move and package and all that kind of fun stuff, but you'd have to get creative, and it probably would be one of those 3-team deals where somebody unloads an expiring contract or all the funny business that goes on in NBA trades. But yeah, you'd have to get somebody to eat some stuff and all the weirdness. But I mean, that's essentially what they need, right? They need to somehow package some stuff and then get back somebody who's, I mean, Bradley Beal would be great, but at least someone who's Beal-esque. And then, yes, Bam Adebayo, right? Or somebody who's very Bam Adebayo-esque who can do Bam things. So that's me. They need Beal and a Bam. If they can get a Beal and a Bam, this team is going to be a really dangerous contender for years to come.
Bam adjacent. Yeah.
There you go, Bam adjacent.
Bam adjacent.
Similar to Bam.
Right.
Dylan.
Yeah, I think well, first I think the hire was, a great hire there. And he seems to, be their guy. No, I'm sorry, not hire, the the extension. Yeah. I think he seems to be the guy, right? He seems to be, the players love him, freaking what he did in the playoffs. A lot of it was Ja, but him being able to work around, just really having Ja, again, right. Like you guys said, Dylan Brooks he's a great player, right? But he's not that guy that they're going to be looking for to take them to the next level.
The guy you package with something else to get the guy that takes
exactly. And I like what you said. You guys brought up Bam, but I think Beal, it would be a good one. Maybe even someone with more veteran status. I think maybe the Pelicans, they're building, right, but someone also kind of like CJ McCollum. Someone with that type of experience, I think would definitely help him out a lot more. But I think with Golden State really exposing their weakness there of, their 3-point shots, especially in the corner, being able to drive it out there. I'm curious, again, yeah, like they have a bunch of stuff, like Bill said, that they can package together to get a big trade, but they could definitely do that because I think they definitely need to use that to probably get the secondary playmaker with Ja. But I'm kind of curious what they're going to do with their 29th pick. Because at that point, I think they might be able to try to go after a combo guard in the draft to see if they can get like a younger guy to kind of develop a little bit there. So they've kind of struck gold. What was it? Desmond Bain. I think they drafted him. I think it was like 30th in the 2019 draft or something like that. So they've done it before. We'll see what they can do with the 29th this year.
Well, since you brought it up, Dylan, what did you think about that Oklahoma City trade?
To be honest, I don't even know what you're talking about.
The Oklahoma City trade?
Yeah.
Wasn't it in Oklahoma City that I mean, the Thunder, I'm sorry.
No. You're talking
Thunder.
Dallas and Houston? Christian Wood? What are we talking about?
No. This was before the.
Wait. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, to be honest. Yeah.
We're not talking
I think.
Jalen. Okay. Yeah. We got JaMychal Green from the from Denver. That's what it was. I was sitting because I was thinking of the Christian Wood thing. I was like, wait, what?
No, we haven't got to that yet.
Well, hey, in Sam Presti, I trust. That's all I got to say. I don't know. We have I have nothing else to say to that. Like,
don't you have to eventually draft somebody though?
That's what I'm saying. It's like I'm just putting my trust, and us Thunder fans are just kind of like, do your thing, do what you did with drafting KD and Russell. It's never going to happen again, guys. We're in Oklahoma City. What else do we have to look forward to? Let me say that.
Badmouth your own city. That's not how we do this on the crib, man. Hey, man. You don't hear Chris saying bad stuff about Boston. We don't do that.
That's Boston, man.
You should have heard me driving home. But I was seeing the worst.
Hold on now, you guys, because I've talked bad about Big Ben for 2.5 years. So
that's one player.
Wait, hold on a second. Well, let me tell you, I wasn't speaking bad about the city. I'm talking about sports. This is the only sport that we have to look forward to. Okay. That's what I'm saying. No, you go to Bricktown.
I thought it was Drillers country, baby.
Oh, Drillers, man.
That's Drillers. That's Tulsa, where I live here in Tulsa. Oklahoma City. Yeah. I think we traded the 30th pick to get JaMychal Green. I think we have so many first-round picks that it's worth it, right? It's a 30th pick. I think that's going to be.
That's a low-risk move.
Yeah, exactly. Low risk, possible medium-sized reward. So I liked it. It wasn't. I saw it the other day, and when I saw the trade, I was just like, oh, okay, cool. It wasn't one of those. Oh no! Oh my gosh, we just got Paul George, type situations. But yeah, I liked it.
Yeah. Well, that was the reason why I asked Dylan the question, because he is the only Oklahoma City Thunder fan that I know of on the SportsKRIB.
And you have it on your bucket list. One day talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder. Check, you've done that.
Yeah, we're not never again.
Okay, so now let's talk about the Christian Wood situation there. Yeah. What did you think about that particular move?
Me?
Dylan.
Dylan. Okay.
I think it was a fantastic get. I 100% was. I think it was good for the Rockets too. I think getting rid of Christian Wood's not great. And for anybody, but for what the Rockets were last year, getting what they could for him, but then adding that with Luka Doncic, Brunson. I think Dallas, they've eventually these past couple of years keep taking little steps up, and this could be a little bit more of a bigger step to get them to that next level. So we'll just see how they compete. We'll just have to really see how the rest of the West, responds to that type of trade. Because you're definitely going to have teams like Golden State, there, but they always seem to be making moves. I think another team to possibly look out for in the West is Oklahoma City Thunder. No, I'm just kidding, guys. But no, I think it's a great get for the Mavericks. I think that's really going to solidify, honestly, if they're going to be able to get to the next level or not. Because I think this was a great talent coming to Dallas.
Demetrius.
Yeah, I think smart organizations understand this thing called the window, right? You have a great player. You have to maximize, bless you, that guy's window. And I think what this move does with Brunson and Luka, you just now open a window. This is a shift change kind of move to me. I mean, I'm not a Mavericks fan. I love the move as an organization that understands that window with their superstar. And they went out and they got a piece they needed, a young, talented piece that fits what they're doing. I mean, I don't even know everything they gave up. And quite frankly, I don't care. I think Dallas wins the trade no matter what, because they just made their best player, one of the top 5 in the league, even better by supplementing the team. And I think it makes them one of the top 3 or 4 in the West now for sure. They probably already were. I think it's a great move. I don't think you can find anything wrong from the Dallas side. And to Dylan's point, Houston knows where they are, and it's probably good for them too.
Yep. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I completely.
He does give you 18 and 10.
Yeah, no, I think he's the perfect guy. I know we talked about, I think, a few episodes ago, threw out some options. I was liking DeAndre Ayton, but I think Christian Wood's an even better fit because we talk about the West and how high scoring it is, and I think Wood provides more of that versatility at a 5 than a guy like Ayton does. Like looking at his numbers, he shot almost 40% from 3. Like we said, he's a 17, 18, and 10 guy. Also, I think the benefit of the Mavs doing this is he's on the last year of his deal. So if he's not the guy, then take a crack at it again next year. Or if he is the guy, now you got a chance to give him that extension. So I think it's a good roll of the dice with them, just risking a pick. They shed a bunch of contract too. It looks like, overall they traded the 26th pick, Boban, Marjanovic, Trey Burke, Marquise Chris, and Sterling Brown for Wood, who is getting, I think almost 14 mil this year, but still, a good balance there. I think it's a great move for the Mavs. Like I said, having that flexibility that Wood's in his last year of the deal too is an even better piece of this whole thing. And I'm excited to see what the Mavs can do, because I think they're definitely flirting with being that 4, 5, 6 team, and now possibly being that 2 or 3 category with, Golden State, with who see what the Grizzlies do. They overachieve, but they're definitely putting themselves in that other tier.
Yeah. And when it works, they have his bird rights, which is huge. So for re-signing him next year, they got his bird rights.
Bill, what do you think about the Wood trade? Did the Mavericks win, or was it split? Bill?
Was that directed to me?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that.
I'll answer for Bill. Go ahead, Bill. So, Christian Wood's aunt played at a small school in Delaware. No. I'm sorry, bro. I can't help it.
The modern, it is. So the modern NBA, right? I guess is what we're talking about. Is sort of what he is and how he fits. And as somebody pointed out, what we used to want in the center, was Nate Thurman, was Willis Reed, was, Daryl Dawkins, and even up to Hakeem Olajuwon, who was a slightly different kind of guy, but still your classic back to the basket rim protector who could give you a double-double week, night in, night out. Now, he is a guy who can give you a lot of double-doubles. Like, he is a guy that consistently scores, consistently gets rebounds. But he can do other stuff, right? He can wander away from the basket. In fact, I guess all of them do that. He has a 7'3" wingspan. He's young, right? He's 26, I believe, at least until I think late September. He can run. He can pass reasonably well, and sort of been around a bit. I believe this is his 6th. Wait, hold on. 6th team? 5th? Let me think.
Christian Wood spent some time with the Pistons. I know that.
Right. Pistons, Sixers, Hornets, Bucks, Pelicans.
I want to say 6.
I think 6 feels right to me. And
Sixers, Hornets, Bucks, Pelicans, Pistons, Rockets.
Yeah.
Okay.
Killed it, Bill.
Got it. And yes, he did spend time in Delaware, but with the Delaware 87ers, right? Since someone mentioned Delaware, he did spend a little time in the CBA with the Delaware 87ers. Shout out to Dover, Delaware. But one of the things I would say is that he's grown a lot as a player. Like, early in his career, quite frankly, it looked like he was going to be a deep down the bench guy. And it took him a while to show that he was way more than that. And then you look at him now, I mean, he is one of the, maybe not top 10, but maybe he is top 10. Let me think. It's close. I mean, the position has changed so much, but certainly top 12 at his position, right?
Sure. Yeah. Sure.
I mean, he went 30-11 on Rudy Gobert once, which is considered quite an accomplishment nowadays in the way that the game is played. So he's been around a little bit, but each place he's gone, he's been a slightly better player than the place before. If that continues, we're talking about a guy who, if he isn't top 10, will be top 10 in his position. So it's hard not to like the move.
Yeah. Playing with Luka is only going to help him get better, by the way.
It's going to definitely help him get better.
Yeah. And by the way, we shouted out Dover, Delaware. Did everybody catch that? Shouted out Dover, Delaware? Wow. Okay.
It's that kind of night, apparently.
It is. I love it.
Bill, the playoffs, coast to coast. What do you think about the format? Which would you rather have? The old format, 2-3-2, or the present format, 2-2-1-1-1?
Well, the crotchety black socks and sandals part of me definitely longs for the old days. I can understand the appeal of the current approach, but yeah, part of me does sort of miss it the way it used to be. It's not a make or break thing for me, quite frankly. I'm okay with it either way. But yes, I'll admit I do miss it a little bit. The 2-3-2. Plus, wasn't it a little bit easier on the travel wise? I'm assuming it was a little bit easier on the teams themselves. So I guess that also is worth considering.
Well, let's bring in the original crotchety old man, Demetrius.
Yes, sir. And I'm going straight Black Sox. Get your ass off my lawn, kid. Here's the deal. 2-3-2 is obviously better for the players. Ipso facto is better for the quality of basketball. 2-2-1-1-1 is better for TV, which
right.
means pay the man his money. That's about cash. That's advertising. That's what that is. So from the point of winning a title, when you get to this point, it should, in theory, be the two best teams. So it shouldn't matter. The truth is you're going to have to win a game on somebody else's floor to win a title, most likely, right? And I think when you're that good, if you're in the finals, you're one of the best teams. And I think the value of home court shrinks with better teams. I think at a championship level, you should be able to go win a road game, right? But I think Bill brought up the point of the travel. I just think it's harder on the players. And I think every now and then you see a stinker. And that's travel and that's exhaustion. And they've been playing basketball since October, right? I love 2-3-2 because that format, and I'm just looking for reasons to mention the bad boy Pistons, right? who lost one of the first two games in Detroit. And I want to say his name was Terry Porter. Bill will correct me. A guard for the Portland Trailblazers said, let's go close this out at the crib, is what he said when they were leaving Detroit in a 1-1 series. And the Pistons promptly went out there and kicked their ass 3 straight games and brought the trophy back home. So that was appealing then, because if you steal one of the first two and you're the road team, you're the team with 3 games at home, you get all geeked up like Terry Porter. Let's end this at the crib, and you forget that the other team's pretty good too. So I am old man. Go back to 2-3-2. The reality is money drives leagues, all leagues, and 2-2-1-1-1 is better for TV.
Dylan.
Yeah, I think I'm the youngest person on the Sports Crib today, but I guess I'll use the same phrase. Going old Black Sox.
A couple pairs of shoes here.
You need some Black Socks? I'll ship you some Black Socks.
Some Black Socks, guys.
I can ship them to you in 2 days. I got a bunch.
There we go, man. Yeah, but no, the reason I say that too is because, yeah, Demetrius is right, but I'm still old enough to remember the 2-3-2 days. Like, they were still doing that, whenever I was growing up. I think, of course, it's all money driven, right? And what's going to make TV better is when you have these rested athletes, you have the athletes happy, you have them just, putting on a show every night. Right. And that's what's going to get it. But really, like the quote, I even looked it up because I was wondering why they actually changed it. I actually never really knew. And I looked it up, and David Stern, like a quote says, it was unfair for the team with a better record to be away 3 games and spend 8 nights on the road. Easy sell is what he said. But I look at it this way, as like what Demetrius was saying. It's kind of like, if you're gonna have to win a road game to win a championship. Like, it's just what's gonna have to happen, especially. But I think it's, hey, you spend this whole entire season, you're the best of the best, right? So you get the home court advantage, right? I can see why doing this, 2-2-1-1-1 is beneficial for both teams. But I just like the fact that, I'm an old stinker, I guess, I feel like it definitely drags it out a little bit longer, give these travel days, all that. But, you have to 2-2, say, hey, if it's 1-1, and the, lower seed was able to grab that, steal, home court, and they have 3 games to close it out at home. I was like, that's pretty exciting. But then let's say if they're not able to do it, and you go game 6 and you're not going back home, I think that is like real home court advantage. Like, say if you're, the top seed and you are able to fend, enough to where you're going to win on the road and you're going to go home and the last 2 games guaranteed are at your home court. I don't know. I just loved that. But, it's not up to us here on the Sports Crib. It's all about the money. It's all about the networks, and it's all about these Supermax contracts. So.
Come on, Chris. You got your black socks on tonight too?
I mean, I'm kind of middle of the road. I feel like the 2-3-2 definitely was the real home field advantage, just knowing that after that game, the remainder of the series, no matter where it's at, is going to get closed out by that team that earned home field advantage. But I can also see the side of the 2-2-1-1-1 because myself as a fan, I'm preferring that this game tonight is in Boston and not Golden State for sure. So, I mean, Celtics not playing hot right now after my comment earlier, so I'm just going to be quiet for now. But I feel like definitely you lost that legitimacy of home field advantage switching to the 2-2-1-1-1. And then thinking about like this series alone, you're traveling East Coast to West Coast. So it's like game 5, now you're flying back to Boston. If Celtics win tonight, now it's going back all the way to Oakland. It's like these guys are really racking up the frequent flyer miles this series because of that format. So I feel like it's definitely kind of killed the legitimacy of home field advantage or home court advantage. And the 2-3-2 is definitely the old school format for having home court advantage.
Well, when it gets down to the drama like this, the best of 3, I kind of like it, but of course I got my black socks on too. 2-3-2. Let's go back to what it was. But like you say, it's all driven about money. So let's get to our NFL topics here. Demetrius, you made some changes up in your front office. Who is Brandon, and what does he bring to the front office of the Lions?
Yeah, so Sosna is a guy who came over from USC. His title is senior director of football administration.
Yep.
What he's going to fundamentally do is work around salary cap and contract analysis. He previously worked with the Browns, and we have a senior executive called John Dorsey, who did a good job in Cleveland. I think he rubbed some people the wrong way. He'll eventually get another shot to be a GM somewhere because John Dorsey's a good football man. When we start getting success, somebody's going to steal John Dorsey. And he worked for John Dorsey in Cleveland, so he's got that familiarity, and he comes over from there. So I think, make no mistake, I will say it until the cows come home, another old guy reference. Brad Holmes is the guy. Brad Holmes is the guy. Everything that goes through Allen Park, Michigan goes across the desk of Brad Holmes. So he works for Brad Holmes. And if Brad Holmes thinks you can help him, help this organization, scouting, cap, whatever, welcome to the team. And my guess is John Dorsey spoke well of him. They saw a void in the organization, and they brought the guy over. And everything I've read about him says it's a great hire. He was instrumental in getting Lincoln Riley to USC. Yep. Apparently, he's got NFL contacts, and all accounts is he's a good addition to the front office. And I'm all about anybody that's willing to help. Welcome aboard.
I hear you. Like you said, would you say next year or the year after?
Next year.
Okay.
2023 NFC North champs.
Big year.
Calling it, man.
And Tigers.
Calling it. Love it.
Yeah, Tigers too. Tigers are gonna win the Central next year. I'm calling both of them. Wow. And the Pistons are gonna win the play-in game. So we're on the rise. Hockey team needs an extra year. Hockey's a little bit longer drag. But so the Red Wings are 2 years out. But the Pistons are sneaking into the playoffs. Lions are winning the North, and the Tigers will be competing in the Central. 2023 is the year. Cornbread and Kool-Aid, baby. Cornbread and Kool-Aid all day, every day.
The Berg pulled that off once, so we'll see.
Yep.
During the Mew era. Bill, the Steelers, they gave safety Minkah Fitzpatrick a new 5-year deal, including $36 million guaranteed. So last year, that includes this year and a 4-year extension. Bill, he's getting 18.4 or somewhere around there annually. And right now he is the highest paid safety in NFL history. We'll talk a little bit about some safeties holding out in a minute. But Bill, is this true value or is this inflation? I mean, it seems like every contract is going to get bigger because this is the standard now.
Right. Well, yes, Minkah is essentially a value pickup, and I'll explain what I mean by that. While this sounds like a lot of money, and in fact, it is a lot of money. I'm not going to pretend it isn't. It won't be in 2 years. Yeah. Just watch, okay? Just watch. In a couple of years, we'll look back and say, "Oh man, what a steal!" When we see what deal they've handed out to, pick a superstar at his position or a similar position. And the fact is that part of why this is a big deal is because of what Minkah allows them to do. He can play, frankly, any of the positions in the secondary. He can play nickel. He can play corner if he had to. He can play either free or strong. And he allows you as a defensive planner, a defensive coordinator, to get a little funky back there, to do some things, to try some things. They were not great against the run last year, and he'll have to get back to being what he was when he's really good against the run. He was an All-Pro his first 2 years in Pittsburgh. And, I'd say tailed off a little bit last year. His tackle numbers were up, but more of them were further down the field. So I'm assuming that they want him to get a little nosier around the line of scrimmage next year than he was, or next season than he was this previous season. But he's only the highest paid now. I mean, that's not going to change. That's going to change pretty soon. Think of what happens when Jesse Bates signs? What happens when, there's a long list of really talented young safeties. When Bayard gets his next deal, there's a bunch of talented young safeties in the league. He'll be fourth or fifth in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. This is a fine deal, and it will look like a really good deal in 2 years.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Dylan, Bruce Smith says he doesn't think that Tony Boselli is a Hall of Famer. Your thoughts on that? And do you think that, maybe Bruce's actions might be setting a bad precedent?
Well, I think, first, Boselli was a pretty BA offensive lineman. I'm not going to lie. He was pretty good, right? But I think what Bruce is saying is, and I read, exactly what he was talking about. He thinks because he didn't have a great game against Boselli in a huge matchup that's giving him, he's giving Boselli a lot more credit to make the Hall of Fame because he was able to hold Bruce Smith, right? To be honest, I don't know too much about these people, but I did read up a lot, and I remember actually Boselli because my dad, offensive lineman, I remember him talking about offensive lineman all the time, and that name does ring a bell. So he talked about him a lot. But I think, I don't know. I want to say it does set a bad precedence that you have someone just kind of, saying one person doesn't deserve, to be in a Hall of Fame when, you played the same sport, right? And yeah, you've gone up against him. I don't know if there's bad blood or what, but I just think it's kind of a crappy way to, talk about somebody who just entered the Hall of Fame with you, right? That's like a fraternity with you. I'm not sure.
But what do you think, Demetrius?
Chris, do you want to go before me?
No,
I
go
feel
ahead.
like you got some stuff to say.
No, you're good.
All right, so here's the deal. Let me put on a second pair of black socks because I'm doing exactly that. So first of all, Dylan, you're my dude, but you need to know who the hell Bruce Smith is, man. That can't be some.
No, I've heard. I know
name.
who Bruce Smith.
Oh, okay. All right.
No.
I might have misheard you. I was like, wait a minute.
Boselli wasn't a Bruno. Boselli wasn't a super familiar.
All right. So here's my thing. Bruce Smith is not wrong. He's not wrong. What he said was not wrong. So I'm going to tell you guys what I read. And if I'm wrong, there's enough smart dudes on this call to tell me I'm wrong. What he said was a lot of the people that are pushing this Boselli thing are baselining one game in 96 against Bruce Smith. Now, he also completely patted himself on the back. He took a class at the Bill Carroll School of Pettiness Equals Greatness and said, I'm flattered that I'm the standard that you want to measure, right? So if a guy plays well against me, he gets to go in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
That was awesome. That was gold, right? But what he's saying is not wrong. What he's saying is that he doesn't want to set this precedent where you baseline and you're allowed to get in the Hall of Fame on one game or even just against one guy. And he said himself and other Hall of Famers. So I'm assuming he's a man of his word and he's talked to other Hall of Famers about it. But Dylan kind of touched on a thing that really is pissing off Bruce Smith. If you do that, they're a brotherhood. They're a fraternity. And if you say he gets in because he dominated Bruce Smith one time in 96, now there's animosity. And Bruce Smith doesn't like the idea that you're measuring them against each other, holding them against each other because there's a respect in the brotherhood. And he's talking about words like harmony and goodwill. He's not wrong. So I struggle to criticize somebody's opinion because my first avenue of evaluation is, are they lying? Are they inaccurate? Do I have a problem fundamentally with the truth in what they're saying? And I read that, and I didn't see anywhere that Bruce Smith was wrong. So I think I'm with Bruce Smith on this is not the way. He talked, and he went a little bit hard and said, look, he wasn't even protecting Mark Brunell's blind side. Why was
Right.
And he threw some other names. He did go in on him a little, but his overall point of benchmarking one game against me in 96 is not the case to make. But now I happen to think Boselli had a great career. I think it was shorter than I would like. If I criticize him, it would be right. It would be the shortness. He was great while he played. I just don't think he played long enough. And again, in my final thoughts, I'm going to talk about my favorite player, who I think has a case, but he didn't play long enough either. So I think Bruce was right. I don't really know if Boselli deserves to be in the Hall. And I love it. I love that he patted himself on the back right in the middle of the whole speech and said, I'm flattered that I'm the benchmark, or the gold standard is what he called himself. But when I read it, guys, I didn't have any problem with what Bruce Smith said. Again, I don't know what this controversy is because Bruce Smith is right. So maybe I'm wrong. I'm open. Chris. What you got?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have too much. I mean, I'm a younger guy. I mean, I don't think I'm as young as Dylan. But I know Boselli's one of those guys that I knew. He was a 90s all-decade player. I was surprised to see his career being as short as it was. But I think, interesting things about him. He was, the first pick of the Jaguars, also the first pick ever by the Texans. So that's always interesting. But I think, he was one of those guys that I knew of for sure. But having him only have a 6-year career and get in, you always hear about, guys like, what was it, Art Monk and, all these other guys that had to wait forever when they had the stats and the longevity of their career and that consistency over time. So to see Boselli get in over only 6 years is surprising. But as far as Bruce Smith's comments as well, it's, you would like to have him take a different route. I'd say maybe, not just throw him right under the bus. But again, like we've always hit on, there's that animosity of him. A lot of people, again, hyping Boselli because of how he played against Bruce Smith. So it seems like there's that animosity behind Bruce Smith's words. I checked and it looks like they squashed their beef on the phone, so they're all good. But moving forward, we'll see what other comments come out as, guys that have these shorter careers, especially, retiring early, CTE, that's going to be kind of a thing moving forward for sure, is not seeing that longevity of careers as guys enter the Hall of Fame.
Mike, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing good, sir. How's everybody else?
What's up, Mike?
Mike, we were talking about Bruce Smith's comments on Tony Boselli making it to the Hall of Fame. And what did you think about the comments? And what do you think that Bruce is setting a bad precedent?
I don't know if he's setting a bad precedent. I don't think he should have said anything. But I also enjoy Bruce Smith. The guy every Halloween has a cemetery of all the quarterbacks that he sacked, in his graveyard. And so that kind of stuff, it makes it more enjoyable. And I think it gets a lot of people to talk about, but that also comes a responsibility from Bruce Smith because he's so respected as one of the best defensive linemen to ever play the game, that if Bruce Smith says, well, Tony Boselli doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame, that's going to carry some weight in some press people's minds, and to me, it's all going to be blown over. As Chris was saying, they already squashed it and everything else. So in the long run, it's not going to be anything out of it. But I enjoy Bruce Smith. I think that was pretty funny. And but it's also something he probably shouldn't have said either.
Don, how you doing this evening down there in Texas?
Well, I haven't melted yet, so that's a good thing.
Honey Hayes in the house.
We don't hear.
It's only 103 in San Antonio.
Oh, that
Jeez.
is.
Okay, all right.
Hey, is Ranger okay? How's
Yeah,
Ranger
Ranger's
handling
good.
it? All right. Got to make sure Ranger's good.
He hasn't barked all day, but now that I'm on the crib,
Oh, he's going to bark on the show. As soon as Ranger Hayes realizes you're on the sports crib, he will announce his opinion. And we're going to talk about the Cowboys at some point. Ranger Hayes has got something to say about Dak Prescott.
Now, Don, I know you know who Tony Boselli is.
Oh yeah.
So what did you think about Bruce Smith's remarks about?
Well,
him being a
everyone
Hall
has
of Famer?
opinions. Everyone has opinions. Bruce Smith certainly entitled to his. Boselli didn't play as long. His career was not. It was kind of cut short. I think we played 6 years, 7 years.
No, barely 6, because when he was acquired by trade from Houston to protect, their new first-round draft pick David Carr, he never played a single down. He got hurt during training camp and never played a single down.
But I believe he was Pro Bowl like 4 or 5 times that short amount of time. So I'm not going to hold that against him. It's not the quantity; it's more the quality, I guess. And I think just based on his style of play and his following and the intensity he brought, and the fact that he made the Pro Bowl just about every year he was playing, I think that puts him in the Hall of Fame eventually.
All right, Bill.
So I've been following his career since his days at USC. And I've followed Bruce Smith's career since his days at Booker T. Washington High School, Norfolk, Virginia, 757 stand-up. And a very close friend of mine, Coach Stringfield, Greg Stringfield at First String Fitness, trained Bruce's son in Virginia Beach, Virginia. So I watched him almost not single-handedly, because he had a teammate named, I think, Plug Melton. But the two of them destroyed. I would have gone to Lake Taylor High School. I was at Lake Taylor Junior High at the time watching our varsity versus Booker T. Washington's varsity. It was amazing just watching, because he was so athletic and he was out of shape. He was 298 pounds in high school. And it wasn't like a svelte 298. He was kind of lumpy. But even despite carrying probably, 40 pounds of bad weight, the way he moved was ridiculous. And he was a guy that played on the interior a lot of the time in high school. And then he gets Virginia Tech, plays a little bit interior, and they get him in better shape, kicks out to defensive end. And then eventually discovers boxing a few years into his career, loses a bunch of weight, plays most of his career between 272 and about 268, which is 30-something pounds less than he weighed in high school. But he never said Boselli didn't deserve to be inducted in the Hall of Fame. I read his statements thoroughly. He did at one point say a little something about, backhanded about the fact that Cersei was the one that played, on the side that would have been Brunell's blind side, because of the arduous task, is the term he used, of protecting the blind side of a left-handed quarterback in their offense. And he mentioned he said he was, great player in his brief. He just said in his very brief NFL career, but he never said he didn't look through. It was a little bit of backhanded pettiness, but he never said this guy doesn't make the Hall of Fame. He did, however, complain about the people who, and I'll quote him here. He said it was underhanded, right, to use one game, right, that 30-27 Jacksonville win over Buffalo in the wild card round in '96, to build so much of their Hall of Fame argument. And he said that statements that were made addressing, disparaging, attacking a sitting member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame in a fashion that is unacceptable. This needs to be nipped in the bud right now before it happens again. So it's not just about himself. Like, he also wants to make sure that this doesn't become a thing that happens every time somebody wants to push someone else in the Hall of Fame. And he then, I think, somewhat correctly shouted out some other great tackles of that era that also had really good games against them, and said, I think correctly, maybe Richmond Webb, Bruce Armstrong, Will Wolford deserve way more Hall of Fame consideration than they've received. They all had stellar games against me. Once again, quoting Bruce Smith, perhaps they too would be wise to build Hall of Fame campaigns highlighting that fact. At no point, I've read his statements backwards, forwards, and inside out. He say this guy shouldn't be the Hall of Fame. He said the argument that people are using is specious, is what he said. I guess he's implying, hey, there are other ways you could do this. He didn't like the way they went at it. And, you know, like I said, I don't think the argument or the problem was ever between the two players themselves. I truly believe his issue was with those, and that's what he said. I mean, he said continuously, Tony are cool. I have no beef with him. And then Tony said the same thing. He said, I'd like Tony to enjoy his process. But he said, I need to address several of his campaign supporters because this sets a bad precedent. That is his issue. He doesn't have a problem with Tony Boselli. He has a problem with the way that some Tony Boselli supporters have mounted this campaign to highlight that one particular game as so much a linchpin of their argument.
So what Bill just said was everything Demetrius said was right. That's
correct.
Bill, here's a name for you. According to his Wikipedia, Anthony Boselli, his whole name is Don Bosco Anthony Boselli Jr.
Right, correct. He is obviously very much from a Catholic family, and
that's what I just heard.
From Modesto, Demetrius.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm
beautiful.
No, Costa Nostra and Modesto. Sorry.
Don, reportedly the Cowboys plan to put the leaner, meaner Dak Prescott's mobility to use. Don, is this desperation or inspiration?
Well, it could be a little of both.
Exactly.
I don't think Dak Prescott needs to be running as much as this stage of his career. I mean, he has mobility, but he's not the kind of quarterback that's going to carry a team when you have a pretty loaded backfield as it is. And so I know when you're mobile and you're running like Pat Mahomes, I mean, you make things happen with your feet and you just, throw on the fly. Dak's really not that type of player. I'd hate to see him go through another traumatic injury because they're trying to get him to run the ball more. That's, you need to have his running backs running the ball more and, his receivers catching the ball more, but he doesn't need to be running it.
I hear you. Dylan, all the focus on Baker Mayfield, we now they're talking about, him replacing Sam Darnold. But what about Jimmy G?
Well, I will say
you said Dylan. I'm sorry.
You said Dylan.
Oh, okay. I was like, of course, if Baker Mayfield's question's coming to me. You kidding me? But I will say I will say we haven't heard, and no one's thinking about Jimmy G, and that happens a lot. Like I hear all the time on radio, on TV, but no one's talking about Jimmy Garoppolo, and no one's talking about Jimmy Garoppolo because this dude's taking it like a pro, like he really is, and like Baker sits there and releases a whole statement like as if he just got cut by the team or he's retiring, about how much he loves Cleveland, and he's still on the team, like stuff like that. And then the person who's taken Jimmy G's job doesn't have 26 civil cases against him. So it's a little bit of a, thing there. But I think Jimmy Garoppolo, like, to be honest, like as a Saints fan, when the whole thing was like, oh, like there's some speculation Baker might go to New Orleans, that would have been great. Great for people like me that were going to buy his jersey, right? But I would rather have Jimmy Garoppolo, that type of quarterback, come and play for, or at least on my team. I think no one's talking about him just because he's kind of just sitting there. He's quiet. He's just letting it happen, and he's not just part of like this huge mega story that's happening. And I think he's just letting it ride out. And I think he gets onto a team before Baker does.
Demetrius.
I think that there's a degree of the business happening here, right? So San Francisco hasn't fully committed that Trey Lance is ready. We don't actually know that. as a business, they consider themselves a team viable, right? I've never heard them come out and say, we are absolutely trading Jimmy G. In fact, I think they might have said almost the opposite, but I think it's much more of them wanting value. They can ride this out, wait for some guy to get hurt in camp. Now you get a better offer. The fact that the market has some guys out there, that Baker is out there, but there are teams that need quarterbacks. At some point, whatever the Seattle area code is, it's got to show up on somebody's phone, right? At some point. Or maybe they tank it and go next year. So some of this might just be the business of we have to wait until somebody gives us an offer that we feel is value. And if you don't get value, John Lynch is not in the business of giving away Jimmy Garoppolo. There could be an underlying Trey Lance ain't ready. I don't know that, but that's a possibility. And if Trey Lance isn't ready, okay, you play Garoppolo and Trey Lance gets another year. Aaron Rodgers set at least 2, probably 3 years before he was ready.
Yeah.
So I think there's a business piece to this that I don't have enough information to know, but I don't think it's as simple as, well, the phone's got to ring and it's got to be legit because they're not giving him away. He's that good, and you don't give away a quarterback who looks that pretty, right? who can play. You don't give him away. So maybe they haven't gotten a valuable offer. When somebody gets hurt, maybe they will. There might be a simple fact that Trey Lance might not be ready. So I think any of those things could be the case.
Don, maybe Jimmy G brings 2 porn stars with him. What's up? I mean,
We're after dark.
we're after dark, so
Yeah, we can start talking porn stars. It's okay, Chris. We can start talking porn stars.
Well, I find it funny. He's being described as too pretty by one of our hosts, and this being Pride Month.
Damn.
Come on, man.
Damn.
Wow.
Hey,
I guess I walked into that.
Hey, he is a good-looking guy. I mean,
Okay, thank you. At least I'm not crazy, man.
I remember a few years ago when he was caught but in tabloids with some porn star, and I Googled her. I'm like, dude, you'd get much better.
Standards went up. Standards went up.
I mean, she
We
weighed
shouldn't be
more than I did.
disparaging. We don't know anything about that lady, man. She had a tough life. Why are we disparaging this woman? That's
She
not
weighed
fair.
Probably a
more than I
nice
did.
lady, man. Probably a nice lady.
Probably. But yeah, I think Garoppolo probably. I mean, I think he is. Let me just say this: Kyle Shanahan would be crazy to let him go from San Francisco. I mean, stay put. I mean, that's just my overall feeling. But I don't get paid to make those decisions.
Mike, you're there in the middle of the Bible Belt. What's your opinion?
Now that we're talking porn stars, Mike, what do you
That's an interesting phrase for Sacramento, the Bible Belt. Okay. I can deal with it. Yeah, I think a lot of this just has to do with Deshaun Watson, and no one's paying attention to going on with Jimmy G because of Deshaun Watson and what Baker Mayfield's going to do and the whole Cleveland Browns mess. If we didn't have that, then it would probably be Deshaun Watson, maybe in Seattle, maybe in Carolina. I don't know. But I do know that those are the 2 spots, and it wouldn't surprise me to see Jimmy G on either Carolina or Seattle and vice versa for Baker Mayfield. The other situation for Mayfield too is I think one of the reasons why they've still hung on to him is because I don't know how many different women Deshaun Watson needs in his life, different masseuses. 66 seems a little extraordinary for me, but
Mike, 17 months, man. I mean, come on. It wasn't like it was, back to back. I mean,
he's got 2 hamstrings, Mike. He's got 2 hamstrings.
Of course. Yeah. What am I thinking here? Of course, 2 hamstrings.
Come on, man.
Yeah. But I don't think Deshaun Watson's going to play this year, so maybe that's one reason why they're hanging on to Baker Mayfield.
Possibly.
Chris, we poke fun, but it is a very serious matter. But what do you think about this Jimmy G situation?
No joking now.
I agree. I'm all about you're from Boston. We expect sarcasm, not jokes.
Oh yeah, no. So I agree with Demetrius. I think the 49ers are definitely kind of waiting to see with Trey Lance. I know his big thing coming out was his development time and, adapting to the play speed coming from the FCS level up now to the NFL. So I think they're definitely keeping him in his pocket. But also, I mean, everyone's brought up great points. They could be waiting to see what happens with Deshaun Watson in Cleveland and then seeing maybe, they can move him there. I think definitely Carolina and Seattle are the two top destinations looking for quarterbacks right now. Early in the year, one of my predictions was that with McDaniel going to Miami, I saw maybe Jimmy G following them there because maybe he wasn't a big Tua fan. And then they end up getting Teddy Bridgewater, so I doubt that's a thing now. But maybe in the future, who knows what happens. I think that's definitely a possibility, but maybe not this year. But I think they're definitely playing it safe for now and seeing what their best option is going to be because like Demetrius said, they're not going to just go out and get whatever for him. They're going to want to take the best offer. They know the quality they have in Jimmy G, and they can play him if they want to play him. There's no reason they can't. So it's just, again, finding that right offer.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you guys here, but Bill, what's your thoughts here on all the talk about Baker, but Jimmy G, quality quarterbacks sitting back there. Sooner or later they got to play Trey Lance, I guess. What's your thoughts here?
1360, I believe, is the area code. 2. So James, Richard Garoppolo, and Baker Reagan Mayfield are both in some interesting situations. Now, as was someone said, like he wrote this beautiful farewell address and all those things. And of course, he's on the roster and he's one play away from starting again. I mean, if something happens to Jacoby Brissett, which I don't think we can rule out, he's still number 2 on the depth chart the last I checked. So that'll be an interesting situation. Now, theoretically, they could go with not Hundley. Who they got?
The guy from
Hobbs.
Yes,
Joshua Hobbs.
Yeah, right.
I thought they got Stedman.
No, they got former Pittsburgh and former NASA intern, right? Yeah.
Bill can't remember his name. He's got no business in the league as far as
So Josh Dobbs, amongst other things, did actually, as an astrophysics major, spend a summer working for NASA. But I don't think you want to trot him out if you can avoid it. And as much as awkward as it would be, if they actually are playing well and doing well, if you're, say, 6-3 and Brissett goes down and you don't have Watson for another, maybe the rest of the season, but certainly for another few weeks, I just can't see them not turning to Mayfield, as awkward as it might be. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Now, if they move him, obviously that removes this as a possibility. But who's going to want him is the question. Now, obviously, does Seattle think that they're the kind of team that needs to make a move at quarterback? Because they might be essentially playing to be the number one. To me, that's a team that's a legitimate shot to be taking the number 1 player overall. I think Seattle might be just really awful this year. I think they might be okay with it. I don't know. We'll see. I looked at that roster pretty hard, and I'm not loving it. So, things happen. Maybe they play out of their minds. Maybe Drew Lock, it plays at an all-pro level. Things happen, but I don't see it. So they may decide that they're fine with basically sucking for a year and drafting a quarterback. We'll see. But right now, there's no suitors for either of them right now, at least serious suitors who are willing to pony up much. So both of them are going to wait for the same thing. Who gets hurt first, right? Which contender loses the quarterback first? That's when you're going to find out what the NFL really thinks of those two guys and what an NFL team, that particular team obviously thinks about those two guys, being on which one they go after first and how much they're willing to give up to get whoever or whichever it is. And then do 2 contenders lose quarterbacks? It's not impossible. So now does somebody get their second choice, which would be, I'm assuming Mayfield, but there might be teams that prefer Mayfield to Garoppolo. Who knows? I guess we'll find out. We will learn if that situation arises. But it's not out of the realm of possibility that both those guys end up sticking with the teams they're on, awkward though it may be, and playing significant snaps, awkward though it might be. It's not what the team would prefer, but you don't always get what you want.
Exactly. Exactly.
Maybe Garoppolo go to Cleveland and Mayfield will go to San Francisco. And everything's
right, exactly, like wife swap.
Yep, perfect.
Well, on that particular note, Demetrius, I have to bring this question to you because you'll recognize all of this here. Tyreek's agent talking about he was underused by KC, and Tyreek says that Tua is more accurate than Mahomes. So what's going on here, Demetrius? Jealousy, envy?
No,
what's going on?
This is easy. The easiest question of the night. I think everybody on this particular sports crib has their own podcast, right? And I can tell you guys, okay, not Don Hayes, specifically for the cornbread and Kool-Aid, every now and then, we're after dark. I just say some ridiculous shit on my own podcast because it's my podcast and I can say whatever the hell I want. Sometimes I'm just trying to promote it. And if my podcast had more than 14 listeners and I could get a clip on no, I'm kidding. I have more than that. That's a joke. If you guys do your work, I can get even more. No, but if a clip from my podcast could end up on ESPN, I would say a lot of dumb shit. I'd have the Lions in the Super Bowl this year, right? That's promoting a podcast, bro. I'm gonna be honest with you. That's the only thing that makes sense in that. I've seen Tua play football, and I've seen Patrick Mahomes play football, and I know Mike, and Mike's a smart dude. If I didn't know, I could just call Mike. But I'm pretty sure I know on this one. So I think this dude promoting his podcast. That's what I think that was.
Yeah,
and it worked. So I got nothing but a slow clap on that shit because it worked. He nailed it.
Would you go ahead, Mike?
Yeah, I think Demetrius has a point. I mean, nobody, unless you're half blind and missing, a good half of your skull, you're going to think that Tua Tagovailoa is up there with Patrick Mahomes. So a lot of stuff, and he's selling his player. Good job, but no one's going to believe it. So is it jealousy, envy? I would say no. I would say stupidity is probably the right answer to all of it.
We missed the word. Right?
Don, come on, set us straight, man. What's going on here?
Well, let me preface this by saying that my nephew actually played with Tyreek at Oklahoma State.
Okay.
And
he was a wild boy in his Oklahoma State days, Don. It's after dark, right?
Sounds like you're really forming this thought, Donald.
Yeah, Tyreek. I'm gonna put this. He wasn't
nice. We're after dark. Say it.
He wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed. So whatever he's saying when he says that, Tua is more accurate than Mahomes, I'm like, how in the world do you say that? I mean that's like saying, I'm gonna, beat Seth Curry in a free throw contest. I mean, come on.
You might beat Seth. You're not beating Steph. I might be Seth. No.
No, I don't think you're gonna be Seth either. Yeah.
Why does Don Hayes not have a podcast? I want to get to that later, by the way. That's good stuff.
Oh, I'm sure he's got some stories.
All you gotta do is say Oklahoma and open the microphone. There's your podcast.
Yeah, Tyreek was a different dude. I mean, he's
Yep.
He
and his early days on Twitter, wowzers. Woo!
Chris,
Pure entertainment.
Maybe Tua is more accurate than Patrick for 10 yards. I mean, but go ahead.
Yeah, that might be where Tyreek's coming from, because I don't think Tua is ever going to overthrow him. I mean, even the Dolphins put out that hype video of like, hey, Tua and Tyreek are hooking up. Look at this throw, and he severely underthrew him.
Yeah,
so I don't think I think that's possibly why he thinks Mahomes is better, because he's not having to actually run and try to catch the ball. It's just kind of landing to him sort of mid-stride, and he's like, oh shit, the ball's here. So that's my thoughts. I think he's, crazy. I'm not happy he's in the division, but I wouldn't say I'm as scared of Tyreek Hill as he would be if he was with Mahomes. I think, I'm not too worried about him having Tua. And then, like I told you guys, I'm trying to shift the vibes here. Celtics have not been winning. I'm all in. I'm watching the game, so you're going to get the roller coaster of emotions from me for the rest of this podcast. So enjoy.
Well, what's the score of that game, Chris?
It is. I can't see on my app. So right
60
now,
to 44.
44.
Oh, 60 to 44.
And pretty much
Okay.
like a 15, 16 point game since I told you guys the score. Al, big 3, baby. All right, let's go.
Dylan, your thoughts here.
Can't hear you, Dylan.
We can't
Good
hear
stuff,
you,
Dylan. Great stuff, bro. I mean, we can't hear any of it. But I'm sure it's great.
Yeah, you
But
need to.
you keep talking. I'm gonna give him the vibe.
Okay.
We
Wait, hold on.
cannot
There we
hear
go.
you. No, we can't
Gotcha.
hear you. Oh, there you go.
Now?
Welcome back.
Fire though.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
sorry, I was coughing a lot whenever you guys were
Oh, here we
talking
go.
about something. So I had to like eat myself. But no, like, what the hell is this even about? Right? Because again, like we've seen, like I was laughing at what Demetrius said. This is why I had to, because I started coughing. Because we've seen Patrick Mahomes play football. We've seen Tua play football. And again, Tua, good quarterback, right? But Patrick he's that once in that generation talent, right? And the fact that he thinks he was underused in Kansas City, well, granted, yes, he had all those other weapons around him, which I think could have definitely, opened him up a lot more, but definitely didn't get the ball thrown to him as much. But, he's quick. They called him Cheetah for a reason, right? But, like, does he think he's Calvin Johnson to where he should get thrown to in, like, triple coverage or something like that all the time? I don't know. I think, him being underused in Kansas City, I don't know if I believe that.
Yeah.
I think I don't think that's a thing. Tua is not more accurate than Mahomes. Let's see if Tua can be getting drugged down by his feet in the Super Bowl and see if he can just hit a dude right in his chest and that receiver drop it in the end zone there, right? Like, there's no way he's more accurate than Mahomes. But I don't think it's jealousy. I don't think it's envy. I think it's Tyreek. What Bill said, he was definitely in a more, his Oklahoma State days, his early Twitter days, he was, as Bill was saying, however he was saying it, right? Whatever he was saying. But now he's going from Kansas City with that coach there, Ed Reed, who's kind of a no BS guy and going to go play for a young coach in Miami. I think he's starting to feel like he can become a loose cannon again. And I think he's just throwing random stuff out there to promote himself, to promote the Dolphins, right? And again, all power to him. But it's one of those things where everyone's just going to think he's just full of shit. So,
Bill.
Okay, so and if you can find like any of his old tweets from his like first couple of years of college,
you talk, I'll find it.
Woo! I'm telling you, man, stuff. He has some thoughts about all kinds of stuff. There's one time he's like waiting in like the financial aid office. He's just appraising body parts of people around him. It's crazy stuff. Amazing. Okay, so Tyreek Hill. I think most of us here have at some point laid in connubial bliss after having completed a beautiful act of love. And either you've asked or maybe someone has asked you, how was that? And you said, oh, baby, that's the best ever. No one has ever done it like that before. Now, was that the truth? Probably not. You want to keep laying in that bed in afterglow. And that's what's happening. Tyreek's laying in Miami, beautiful, beautiful Miami with his condo on South Beach and making way more money than he made before, back with all his old buddies from where he grew up. And he can't come out and say, oh, Tua's trash, but by God, I'm getting paid. Right? You can't say that. That doesn't come across well. Plus, you don't get asked back into that connubial bliss anymore if that happens, right? There's no more of that afterglow if that happens. And he wants afterglow. You don't get afterglow if you say, oh, baby, that was mid, right? You can't say that. How was that? It was amazing, baby. You're the best. No one can touch you. That's what you say, right? I mean, we've all been in that situation, a similar situation. I don't think any of us said exactly the truth, right? So I'm not mad at him. I understand. You're put on the spot. You're laying there. You're feeling good. They're feeling good. Bro, yeah, sure, baby. You're the best.
All right, James, I need a second here. This is what I've got so far. Connubial bliss.
Yes,
We shouted out Dover, Delaware.
we did.
Don Hayes doesn't have a podcast. That's bullshit. Porn stars. What has happened? And I feel bad for Chris.
It's a normal
I don't want to
procedure,
admit
right?
that. But this is a sports crib of sports crib. And
Yeah.
all right. I'm working on the Don Hayes podcast. I'll leave the rest of it. That shit's gonna happen, Don. Sorry, bro. I'll talk to you later.
I'm gonna have a Don Hayes, Ranger Hayes podcast.
Yeah.
Rangers the co-host.
All the ones and twos, Ranger Hayes.
Ranger.
Rangers gonna talk about the bitches in the hood.
Exactly. Guys, if you don't know, Rangers is dog. And for, I'm going to say literally 8 consecutive podcasts, at some point, Ranger goes ape shit and starts barking in the middle of the podcast. Right? And I love that part of the podcast. When Don says something crazy about the state of Oklahoma, because he always does, Ranger just cosigns. Like from another room, Ranger just starts barking.
Oh, Chris, let's start our conversation here with the AFC East. Now, NBC analyst Chris Sims ranks Josh Allen as the new number 1 quarterback in the NFL. What do you think about that, Chris?
Chris is like, why are you giving me the Bills?
Yeah, I mean,
The Boston guy doesn't want any part of the Bills.
I'm just pissed at Steph Curry right now.
I don't blame you. I would be too.
He just picks up a loose ball and just hits not like it the ball barely touched the fucking net.
Yeah.
Like what a shot!
Crazy.
Like, so fucking fun. But as far as the Buffalo Bills, yeah, I think Josh Allen might be there. I think how losing the weapons that Mahomes did, losing a guy like Tyreek Hill, I think his wide receiving core has gone down. Josh Allen, he still has Stephon Diggs. I was looking at the roster; they did add some other guys as well. You got Dawson Knox, of course, at tight end. They did add, I think Jamison Crowder was there last year. He's a good safety blanket for him. Gabriel Davis popped off a little bit towards the end of the year last year as well. So I think receiving wise, they might have a little bit more depth there that might push Allen just a bit ahead of Mahomes. I'm not happy that he's in division. He's definitely the best quarterback in the division, though we'll shout out Mac Jones here in a little bit. But yeah, I could see him being the top quarterback this year.
Dylan.
He's definitely up there, right? And I think, he's one of the top tier quarterbacks. But when Chris Sims and all these media people, in June and July put out their top, quarterbacks, of course, is to let's draw some attention to the channel. So I think this usually moves along with the hype of the team and whoever the quarterback is of that team there. And the Bills, they're the real deal, right? And especially how their season ended last year and how it brought up the whole overtime rules and stuff like that, and how he was just battling with the Chiefs, right? And how Josh Allen was doing all that. He's definitely a top tier quarterback, but I'm not going to say he's the number 1 quarterback. I still think that's just going to belong to Patrick Mahomes, even with Tyreek Hill, right? Just what he's done. But the number 1 quarterback on the best team, possibly. I think Josh Allen can definitely become that number 1 quarterback. But he's got the athleticism, he's got the arm strength. I think he can definitely get there, but I don't think he passes Mahomes yet. I think it's definitely the hype of how their season ended is definitely carrying over with him. Everyone thinking he might be the new number 1 quarterback there.
Don, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, Josh Allen, he's a certified badass, but I concur with him in saying, I mean, keep in mind that Aaron Rodgers is still in the league, Tom Brady's still in the league, Mahomes is in the league. I mean, I might throw Russell Wilson there. I mean, there's some good quarterbacks still out there, and Josh Allen is good. Don't get me wrong, and he might be the best in the league, but right now it's just kind of hard to say that because we haven't played the season yet. I would correct Chris Sims and say he has the potential to be the best quarterback in the league. I'll give him that.
Demetrius, we know who you're behind, but and he's not even your quarterback. But what did you think about this remark?
I think Don just put it best. I think there is no right answer. So the real question is there a conversation? And absolutely. For all the things he can do, his complete game, he is absolutely in that conversation. Without question. So yeah, I mean, I think like I said, Don put it best. I would slightly tweak what Sim said. If you think there's a definitive number one, then you're probably just a fan of a team or you're jaded or something, because I think there are different guys that do different things. There's a case for Mahomes for sure. There's a case for Josh Allen. Frighteningly, there's still a case for Tom Brady. I'm not gonna lie and say there's a case for Matthew Stafford. I just wanted a reason to say Matthew Stafford's name, quite frankly. So, Josh is certainly in the conversation.
I'm going to refer this question here to our two dynasty kings here.
This is Mike's wheelhouse.
Yeah, Mike and Bill. Mike, Pro Football Focus ranks the Bills wide receiving core at number 8 in the NFL. Where do you have?
I think it's higher to me. You have a lot of youth there. Jamison Crowder comes in for Cole Beasley, and that's an improvement. And then you have Stephon Diggs there, and then you have Gabriel Davis, Dawson Knox. I don't know if they counted in tight ends or if it was specifically wide receivers. So when you're 3 or 4,
Khalil Shakur. You drafted Khalil Shakur.
Yeah, so there's another one. I mean, this offense is easily 4 to 5 deep, and at 8, I think that's a little too low for me. I would have them in the top 3 or 4.
Bill, what's your thoughts here?
Not top 3 or 4 for me, but yeah, 8 seems a tad low. So who else would you? Let's do some math. Who would you put ahead of them? So let's say if we're pushing the Chiefs down because of the loss of Hill, so we can say maybe the Chiefs are now beneath them. Would you put Tampa Bay still above them? Maybe I'm trying to. I mean, I guess
Tampa Bay is only too deep.
The Bengals are the benchmark. We all agree on that, right?
Yeah.
Right. I think Tampa's above them. I think Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are still good, and they signed Russell Gage. I put Tampa ahead of him.
Right. I still have Tampa above them. Right. So
Vikings with Thielen and Jefferson.
That's a great
challenge.
challenge.
KJ Osborne is their slot.
The Raiders adding Devontae. Where are the Raiders? Where
Devontae and Hunter Renfrow now.
Yep.
Exactly.
They re-signed.
I think 8 is probably fine. Sorry, Bill. You asked the question. I jumped in.
I think it depends on how you want to look at it. Like, I'm looking at it as a depth situation. If we're looking at it as a talent situation, then like you guys are saying, like Raiders with Devontae and Hunter Renfrow is probably better. So I think it's just, or Minnesota with Jefferson and Thielen, their starting 2 is better than the 1 Gabriel Davis. So yeah, my perception, I think it depends on how you want to look at it. You're going to look at it depth perception, or you're going to look at it as the starting 2 or 3 wide receivers and how talented they are.
So, that's fair. That's fair. Because if the Rams re-sign Odell with Robinson and Kupp, I make a case for them.
Sure.
I make a case. I make a case for Miami with Waddle and Tyreek. So it's a great question. I think it's a solid sports crib question, and I think you could debate it.
For sure.
Now, Mike, we were just talking about Minkah Fitzpatrick and him being the highest player safety in NFL history right now. But Buffalo's got a safety that's holding out. What do you think his situation is going to be now that he's seen that contract?
I think he's going to be wanting to be up there, and he should be. Poyer is an excellent safety.
Yep.
So he's a very important part to that defense for Buffalo, because they're talking about depth. You know, they have good pieces around, but they're not depth oriented. And to lose a Poyer, I think, would really hurt them.
Bill.
So I just said this earlier that he's just like with any other position. Remember, Derek Carr was the highest paid quarterback in the NFL, and people lost their minds.
Yes.
And then, like 6 months later, he was like the fourth highest paid quarterback in the NFL.
Right.
Even remembered. So it's going to be the same kind of deal. Like I said, Jesse Bates has made noises about his contract. He's going to be the fourth or fifth highest paid very, very soon, and people will barely remember his deal.
What it is.
Right, can I jump in and disagree?
Right.
Can I jump in and disagree? I love you guys. Here's the thing.
Go ahead.
Here's the thing. Minkah Fitzpatrick is 25. Jordan Poyer's 31. That's the only reservation I have. How do you give him? Because to give him something with some giant signing bonus, to make him the highest paid, that thing's got to go 5 years, right? To get the kind of money we're talking about, because you have to spread that kind of money over 4 or 5 years to make it work in your cap. So my only concern,
unless you just eat it all,
unless you're the Rams and you just do whatever the hell you want, right? But this is the thing about the cap. With the exception of the Rams, you eventually start losing guys, and I don't know that you can drop a 5-year extension on a 31-year-old safety. And I'm not talking about his talent right now, because he's very good, and to Mike's point, he might deserve it for what he's done. I don't know how a team that has Josh on the deal he's on, Diggs on the deal he's on, a defensive player they just gave a ton of money to, who's escaping me right now, the guy with the glasses, Denver Rams. Why can't I remember his name? Von Miller. So you got contracts in that organization that are going to make it very difficult for you to drop 5 years and whatever the number is on a 31-year-old safety. So that's my only concern about it.
Demetrius, what's going to be the Bills' record?
I still like them. And as damaging as this might be to my relationship to Chris, I'm gonna say Buffalo's gonna win 12 games. I like them, maybe even 13. I'm gonna say 13-4. 13-4.
Dylan, what's the record?
I hate to be the person that always says the same thing as the other person, but 13-4 sounds about right for sure.
That's why I jump in first. That's how I
that's it, man. Yeah. Yeah, no, I think 13-4. I think that sounds just about right for sure.
Bill.
I'll deviate slightly. I'll say 12-5. I think they pick up one of those because something about the Bills, they seem to always pick up a loss somewhere every year, and I think it's going to happen again this year. Where it's like it'll be not a team you're expecting. They'll lose to some team that is going to end up picking them the top 5 of the draft, but they'll lose to them anyway, because that's something the Bills just do for some reason.
Don.
Lost to the Texans, just sitting in their schedule.
I'm thinking 11-6, 12-5, somewhere in that area.
Ooh, 11-6.
Well,
Mike.
like he was saying, sometimes you have that what the hell loss,
Yep.
and the NFL is a very,
They're all
that's
professionals.
that's a long ass season. You got to
Longer than ever before.
Yeah, you got to take into account injuries and suspensions, and
just loss of focus that happens in a long season.
Chris.
Throw in some acts of God. Come on, yeah. It could be 11-6.
Chris has got something else to focus on. I can take his time right now.
I was just waiting for Jalen. I was praying Marcus Smart doesn't shoot the ball. Also, since I've been watching the game, I don't think Jason Tatum has scored. Jason Tatum has been a ghost in this game right now. But back to the Buffalo Bills again. I'm thinking right with Demetrius. I'm thinking they're going to be a 12-win team, maybe even 13 wins. But one of their losses they will get this season will be from the New England Patriots.
Mike.
Well, Bill and Don are completely way off on their predictions. They're not going to be 12-5. They're going to be 13-4.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe 13.
Way off.
Let's talk about Miami. Mike, can this O-line keep Tua upright?
Well, I looked at what they were last year as far as sacks allowed, and they were middle of the road. They were 16th. So hopefully they become more gelled and more together. So I'm not too worried about it. 16th, 15th, 14th. Yeah, I think he'll be all right.
What do you think, Demetrius?
I think this is their biggest problem. This is why the Tyreek thing was so absurd, because not only does Tua not have the ability to stretch the field, Tua's not going to have time to stretch the field because it requires protection. To get Tyreek the ball on the, is it a 9 route, go route, whatever it's called these days, he needs protection, and he won't have it. This is what's going to make the Dolphins that team that everybody thought, oh, we're surprised they weren't as good as we thought they were. I don't think they're going to be very good, and I think this is the reason.
Remember the super team Eagles, right? Where they won the offseason, Vince Young and all that bunch. They were like figuring out where they're going to party when they win the Super Bowl. Remember that?
Yeah. The Dream Team. They called it themselves
Dream
the Dream
Team. Exactly.
Yeah. Don, what do you think about that offensive line of the Miami Dolphins?
Well, they do have some questions with cohesion. But, you know, if they can, like, gel at the right time, I think, you know, that'll be the determination of whether or not Miami makes the playoffs or not. They have some question marks, but we'll see if they can be coached up. I do think that Tyreek Hill's production is going to go down, and some of that would be because he doesn't have the offensive line he had in Kansas City, also not having Mahomes, but I think that they were looking at Tyreek to be the savior, and I think they might win 1 or 2 games because of him, but probably not even more than that.
Bill, who's the third starter on that defensive line?
We're back to Miami again?
Yes, we're still on Miami.
Okay, still on Miami. That's what I meant. Still on Miami. Well, that's a great question. Miami is a team that, well, I mean, this is not different from every team. What they'd like to do, obviously, is be able to get consistent pressure on the quarterback, and not just consistent pressure, but consistent interior pressure, right? There's enough quarterbacks in the NFL who either through just being quick getting the ball in their hands or good enough athletes that they can make one guy miss and extend a play. But if you get interior pressure, you can't step up in the pocket, and that buys time for the guys coming on the outside to get their work done. That's what you want, right? You want to have consistent push in the middle, and then those guys who can beat one-on-one and sometimes even a double team quickly enough that with that little pump fake, that little half second, you can get the ball, you know, that you can't get the ball out. Now you're getting sacks, you're getting tip ball interceptions, all those strip sacks, all that stuff that frankly wins games, right? That's defense used to mean holding a team to like 11 points or whatever, 9, 3, backing up 74, 75. No, it's not that anymore. You're not trying to legitimately hold a team to 10 points or whatever. So looking at the team, John Jenkins, Raekwon Davis, Benito Jones are all very large people, right? Huge. 330, 335, 319. Seiler is the svelte 297. Wilkins is 313. So, right, so they have a lot of beef, right? But none of those guys is really terrific at getting pass rush pressure, right? They're all good against the run. They're all enormous human beings. But not a single one of them is a guy that's like, oh, that guy's going to get 7 sacks. I can't point to a single guy and say that's a 7-sack guy. I think Jenkins plays. I think Jones is probably going to back up multiple positions. Davis is going to start. And then it's a fight between a few different guys. Ogba is going to be one of the guys they're hoping to get pass rush from, right? And they need to get pass rush from him. I've liked Owen Carney from U of I. Obviously, I'm biased, but I think he developed some more this year. Adam Butler is another big dude, 6'4 3/4, 298 pounds. I mean, they have a lot of size. I don't know if there's a bigger across the board defensive line front in the whole darn league. I just don't see where they're going to get their pass rush from, right? They'll be tough to run on though. So that's going to be the challenge. I won't be surprised if the person that you're looking for isn't on the team yet. I will not be shocked if they don't make fact, I'll be a little bit surprised if they don't make another deal or bring in another sort of late, that third dip at free agency. Those guys that, didn't get taken before, maybe because they were hoping that they'd get a more attractive offer and then realize, oh, this is as good as it gets. Maybe they make a trade. I don't think they're done with that D-line because I've looked at their defensive line hard, and I can't see the guy where I go, that's a 7-sack guy. Not a single one.
Mr. Dynasty, Mike, who's that third starter?
I don't know. I think Bill covered it pretty dang well. So I don't really have much to say outside of what Bill said. I mean, that was amazing. So, yeah, I don't really have much.
Dylan, playoffs or bust for Miami?
No, I don't think it's playoffs or bust. I think it's, if they make the playoffs, it's, a really good season. I think them with I'm sorry, I was trying to see what Chris was putting on the screen.
I was showing Demetrius, his boy Izzo's in the building.
Sorry, he was showing the greatest coach in the history of college basketball is at the game, and they had him on TV. Sorry, his name is Tom Izzo. So you guys know what that is.
No, I think going back to what you're saying. I think Miami's building up to it. I don't think it's playoffs or bust. I think it's I think a terrible year would be as if they're not in contention for it. If that makes sense. Like if they're not close to being in it in the end of the season. I think you were talking about their offensive line. They're definitely making some steps toward that, though. They did sign Teron Armstead out of New Orleans, which I think is a big help on that offensive line. I hated losing him. Huge factor on our offensive line in New Orleans. So I think they're definitely going the right direction. I don't think it's playoffs or bust for them, at least this year. Maybe next year if they can add a couple of people and what everyone else was saying, you get that offensive line start gelling a little bit more. You get that veteran presence there with Armstead. I think they can definitely be there in the next year or two.
Don.
Yes.
Playoffs or bust for the fans?
I don't think it's gonna be their year. I think they'll flirt with maybe a wild card berth, but I don't think they're not going to playoffs.
Demetrius, what's going to be the record for the Fins this year?
Open to anybody, or is that Don?
There's only one Demetrius here, I think.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you say my name. I'll go 7-10. I don't think they're that good. I don't think Tua's that good. And I don't like their offensive line. Other than that, they're great. So, no, I'm going to say 7-10. I think they're a middling team. So the whole playoffs or bust question is no. They're just not good enough. I think Buffalo's better, and they got to play them twice. I think the Patriots are better. They're around that 7-10 type of team to me.
Dylan.
I'll go with around that for Demetrius. Like I said, I think they'll be a little bit better than that. Like I said, I think if it's going to be a successful season, it's them going to be somewhere around, 8 wins, possibly 9. I don't think they'll win their division. But we'll see where they go. Like they could just win 4 or 5 games this year. You just never know how this stuff's going to go. It's with these, cause they have a bunch of new players in their system. You never know how that's going to work out, but I would say they get about 8 wins or so. I think they might get around there, and that's a good season in my eyes for them this year.
Chris, what do you think is going to be Miami's record?
So I'm going to just shoot down the Dolphins right now. So a new coach this year, not a Tua fan. Looking at the schedule, they're playing the NFC North and the AFC North as well. So I don't see them beating. I mean, and who knows what Cleveland's quarterback situation is right now, but I don't think they're going to beat anybody in the AFC North right now. And then I'll give them a split with the Jets and then lose to everybody else in the AFC East. So I think they're going to be about a 5 or 6 win team.
I don't think
let's talk about your pets, Chris.
Perfect segue.
Everybody talks about they're without weapons. I mean, they got 4 running backs, 5 wide receivers, and 2 very capable tight ends. What do you mean without weapons?
I think they're just more weapons that people really aren't familiar with. So, of course, going to that running back, 3 monster, I'll call it. You got Damian Harris, 1,000-yard rusher. Ramondre Stevenson, a 4th-round pick, who I love. I think he's just the perfect contrast to Damian Harris, just that power back. And then when Damian Harris was out, he was still able to put up a 100-yard game. So I'm a big fan of Ramondre Stevenson, just great 4th-round pick. Then you still got, a steady guy like James White there, just being the pass catcher out of the backfield. And then as far as the receiving core, I think we've already hit on this. I'm a big Kendrick Bourne guy, big Sky guys, sleeper. I think he's going to have a big year this year. But I'm very excited to see what Devontae Parker can bring to this offense as well. I think he was very underutilized in Miami. He battled through some injuries as well. So I think he's going to be a nice jolt to this offense. And then I think Mac Jones is going to hopefully have another step forward here in his second year. He had a great rookie season, almost a 68% completion rating, nearly threw for 4,000 yards, including a game against Buffalo where he had 2 pass attempts, had, I think, 22 touchdowns on the year. So I think Mac Jones having these additional weapons, the Patriots offense might be sneaky good this year. Plus, let's not forget Tyquan Thornton, too, the burner out of Baylor in the 2nd round. Again, I'm scared of what the Patriots do when they draft wide receivers, so I'm going to keep my judgments of him very, very tempered and low. I'm not having any expectations for him. That way he can just have a low bar and just, hopefully exceed everything.
He's going to help you on special teams right away, though. He's going to be terrific as a gunner and things like that.
Well, we're coming to you next, Bill, so go ahead.
Well, as has been mentioned before, the Patriots do things the Patriot way. They aren't concerned with what anybody else thinks about any of their players, what anybody else thinks about their process, what anybody else thinks about their anything. They're super weird and secretive about everything, and they like it that way, right? I mean, they make no apologies for it. Shout out, of course, to Nike Belichick, who's been running the draft in the last couple of years. Good to see.
Big dog shout outs on the podcast tonight.
Yes. I love that part. I love that goes on. And I hope that you're so right on Kendrick Bourne because I have him on my dynasty team. So this is a team that's going to win a lot like they did when they first got Bill Belichick. They're going to play really good special teams. They're going to play really good defense. They're going to try to avoid mistakes on offense. And every once in a while, in a big moment, they're going to ask their young quarterback to make a couple of big throws. But you're not going to have to make 40 big throws, right? That's not what they do. They have to make 2 or 3 big throws after they play a lot of games close. They're one of the few teams in the league that actually is excited about winning games 23-17. And that's what they're built to do in a time when almost no one else is still trying to do that. I guess Pittsburgh may be getting back to that as well. They have to. But most of the teams in the league are not trying to win that way. Most of the teams in the league are trying to push the pace. Most of the teams in the league are trying to gain extra possessions, gain extra, wear out the defense, all that kind of stuff. No, they'll occasionally use tempo too, don't get me wrong, but they want to slow it down more than most teams do. They want to pound you more than most teams do. And look at where they've put large human beings on their roster. At a time when teams are getting smaller at a bunch of positions, the Patriots got bigger.
Trent Brown, maybe.
Yeah.
They're counter programming. They're going to zag where everybody else is zigging. So I think that they are quite possibly a wild card team. I think they're a 10-win team. It all depends on just how many wild card spots aren't swallowed up by the AFC West. Because the AFC West, every single team out there could potentially be a wild card team, right? Because we don't know who's going to win the West. So whoever doesn't win the West, they all look like wild card teams. But if one of the teams out west, probably Denver, ends up not being as good as we thought, that opens the door for them to get one of those wild card spots.
Mike, where do you have the Patriots here? When you talk about their weapons,
it kind of reminds me of. I think a lot of people misconstrue them just because there's not a like a Ferrari or something really sexy that just shows up and you're just like wanting to watch it and you want to see it and you're just glued to the television. It's more just a truck or something to that effect that's comfortable, gets you to the work every day. You're comfortable riding in it and there's really no problems with the vehicle. And that's how they typically win. Of course it helps with Tom Brady, but Tom Brady himself isn't a Ferrari. So it's a very, very constructed team that
He's a low mileage, 1998 Jag XJ8.
yeah, perfect right there.
What are we
I don't know what
talking
that is,
about?
but that sounded wonderful. So yeah, exactly. They're going to be the lunch bell kids.
Don, what do you think of NFL.com says that the AFC East projects Matt Jones to become a top 10 quarterback this season? What's your thoughts on that, Don?
Yeah, again, like Josh Allen, one of the top quarterbacks. I think Mac Jones is he is a guy he has not reached the ceiling yet. He's going to keep getting better. He's used to winning. He comes from the Bama program, so I think that he's the type of guy that Belichick likes to work with. I think he's got that same mentality. He's very he makes very few mistakes. He takes care of the ball. So I think top 10, yeah, I mean, sure, why not? For the hell of it. But I think in 2-3 years, we'll be talking about him as being much better than top 10, maybe top 5, because I think his ceiling is that high.
Wow, you just made friends with Chris. We know that. But
Yeah, we'll definitely get you a podcast on.
Demetrius, your thoughts? Mac Jones, top 10?
Yeah. Close, right? And I'm stealing it, Bill. Apologies in advance. Michael McCorkle, is that it, Bill? Michael McCorkle Jones. And this flips the Miami thing. One of my favorite picks, value picks outside of the obvious ones in this year's draft, is a kid named Cole Strange. 12 years from now, we'll be doing a sports crib, and the starting left guard for the New England Patriots will be Cole Strange. That's just a pick that I loved. And I think with Trent Brown, David Andrews, I've always liked, they have an offensive line, which is going to help Michael McCorkle Jones be the best version of himself. I like the Patriots a lot. You talked about all the weapons. I don't think anybody mentioned the tight ends, Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith.
Yeah, I said two capable tight ends.
Yeah, they're so. And I mean, N'Keal Harry has to eventually do something. No.
He won't be on the meeting.
Okay, I just like the depth of their roster, and ironically, I glanced at it earlier, and I find this funny. James White is questionable. In mid-June, James White's got a Q next to his name. And I thought,
they do have Pierre Strong, though. They do have.
Why the hell is he questionable? Yeah, Pierre Strong. Why the hell is James White questionable in mid-June? I thought.
He's questionable now.
He's questionable right now. There's a Q next to his name because I wanted to see where he was. Because I like Stevenson as well. I think Chris mentioned it earlier. Really big on Stevenson, and I wondered what that did to the depth chart. And a Q next to his name, I'm like, wow. OTA questionable? What are we talking about? They don't even put on pads. Wow. I just like the completeness of this team. To answer your question, I think Mac Jones, I think Don said it, this time next year, this will be an easier to answer question. But I think they've built this team in a way that will give this kid every opportunity to be successful. From the offensive line, 2 really good tight ends, depth at receiver, depth at running back, great coaching. He has every opportunity to be really good. And he comes, like Don said, from Alabama, so he's a smart kid. Yeah, I like him.
Dylan, your thoughts on Mac Jones?
Yeah, like in my head, I was thinking to myself, I was like, there's no way he'd be a top 10 quarterback. I was actually thinking that. And I started making a list, and I was just like naming off all the quarterbacks. I couldn't think of anyone else after 9. So I'm like, could be a top 10 quarterback. Yes, for sure. Like I got stuck at 9. So I think
where's
this
Matthew
year
Stafford?
could.
Where's Matt Stafford on that list?
Matt Stafford is actually 9. I have him at 9.
All right, I'll take that.
Yeah, I know, he might not like it, but hey, he's in it. He's in it though, right?
I'll take it.
Maybe 8. With him and Joe Burrow. We'll look at it that.
Sorry, I didn't mean to hijack. That's just my,
No, dude, you're good. You're good, man. But what Demetrius was saying was, and then also I think someone else mentioned it. Yeah, the dude comes from Alabama, right? He's used to winning, And that's one of the few college programs that I would, that's my thing. I'm huge in college football. That's like my thing. And that's one of the few programs I will say that is a professional organization that's ran. Like, he understands from his freshman year, he was learning what it took to be a successful quarterback, in the NFL, like the process of it by being in that Alabama program. So even at the end of his second year, I think he could be a top 10 quarterback easily, especially with some of the weapons that they got around him now. As I was making that list, I kept hearing Ramondre Stevenson mentioned. I know he's the running back and all, but OU guy, absolutely loved him. I thought that was the steal of the draft whenever they got him for sure.
What's going to be the Pats record, Dylan?
Someone refresh me. What was their record last year? Anyone know?
12-5. Guessing
Something like that.
No.
Because
Chris should be able to rip that off the top of his head.
I'm too zoned in on Celtics right now.
Oh, he's too distracted. I'm not relying on Chris right now.
I'm sorry.
I completely understand.
I can
I'm gonna say 11-6, 12-5, around that area. I think they
were 10-7
last year.
10-7 last year.
Okay, look, they're going to improve then. I think we're 11-6, 12-5. I think that they'll that's around where they'll be this year. Slightly improved for sure.
Don, what do you think is going to be the Pats?
I'll give them 11-10.
Wow, they put a shit
11
ton of
and
games. How they
Is
gonna
that preseason as well?
I'm sorry.
We're throwing preseason for the next 2 years.
11-6. I'm sorry, I had a brain fart.
Demetrius.
I like them around 11-6 as well. So yeah, I think they're a good team. They're gonna push Buffalo a little, but Buffalo might just be too good. I don't know if they can get the division. I like them in the playoffs. I think they still want.
I can't wait for that future rivalry between those teams when they're both going to be in with both of those quarterbacks at the top. I can't wait to see Buffalo and Boston in the next couple of years for sure.
Bill, the longest tenured Jet, Nate Shepard, he gave the Jets that hometown discount we always are talking about. How important was his signing? There were a couple other teams that were after him also.
It helps to solidify one of the probably better parts of a not very good team. They have a lot of work to do. I don't think that's news to anybody. This is a prove it year for their young quarterback. Their wide receiver group is not exactly scintillating. They have a couple of young running backs that are interesting. Their offensive line is. We'll see what happens with Mr. Becton. And I think their defense does take a step forward this year, and I think he's a big part of what that defense would look like, right? So without him, they would have to move some people around, and now they don't have to. So for the Jets, while he might not be a superstar or a household name, he's one of the linchpins of what I believe to be one of the strongest parts of a fairly weak team. But with him, they now can trot out, I think, some important play. They can lock down, like I said, his position and then try to figure out what they're going to do with the rest of that. They added some talent, obviously, via the draft. They had some good picks, and I think they used most of those picks well. It just remains to be seen if – here's what they'll need, right? Obviously, they need that, the quarterback. If Wilson takes a huge step forward, that helps them. Can Corey Davis and Denzel Mims, stretch the field on the outside? Can Garrett Wilson, of course, the new kid, also give them some explosive plays? I really liked what I saw from Elijah Moore. I was a huge fan of his coming out of Ole Miss. I thought that was maybe their best draft pick. He's already shown some things. And, of course, I make jokes about Spanish Gold Beasley. But when they do go 4 wide, Braxton Berrios to see the field. He's already a terrific – I think he was either first or second team All-Pro and a Pro Bowler as a return specialist. And if Fant and Tomlinson and McGovern and Elijah Vera Tucker, and like I said, the big question mark is Becton, and now they got Uzoma, CJ Uzoma from the Bengals. But yeah, and Breece Hall, obviously. If Zach Wilson takes a big step forward, that should help them. They've got talent on the defense, though. I'm a fan of Bryce Huff. I was a fan of his at Memphis. At Memphis, I was shocked that he wasn't drafted, but he was a great undrafted free agent signing. Lawson is a similar player. Those two hopefully will combine to give him some exterior pass rush on the outside. Quinnen Williams and, of course, Solomon Thomas, right? Reclamation Project, along with John Franklin Myers and Sheldon Rankins should be trying to, cause havoc on the inside. And then Jermaine Johnson, Michael Clemens, and Jacob Martin are the other guys on the other side. Their linebacker core is, Quincy Williams is come over and he should help. And Mosley, right? Another guy that brought in. I really like Jordan Whitehead. That's a huge, maybe their biggest free agent signing might actually end up being Whitehead. I really like him to solidify the secondary. DJ Reed is a guy I liked when I saw him both at Kansas State and then as his time with Seattle. And then last but not least, the other Michael Carter, not the running back, but the other Michael Carter, the nickelback, along with Javelin Guidry. Not only is Javelin Guidry a cool name, but he's super fast. He ran 4.31 at the combine in his year. And keeping the, oh my God, a great name running. They also have Rashad Wildgoose, is another one of the nickel / free safety guys. And he's also a decent player and just having a truly, truly great name. But they need that defense to play very, very well because I truly believe if they're going to win games, those games are going to be close and low scoring. So best of luck to all of them.
Mike, how did you rate the Jets draft?
It was probably one of the best drafts of all the teams. They were just they took advantage of everything that they needed to get better with, and they hit on it. As Bill was talking about, you bring in Garrett Wilson, who's probably the best wide receiver. Jeremy Ruckert is a good blocker, excellent blocker, somewhat good pass catcher, and then you get Breece Hall. One of the names, unless I missed it, was a great name when he said Wild Goose. We also got the Sauce in Sauce Gardner, and that was an excellent pick. So top to bottom, they really just got players that they really needed, and it was an excellent drop in my opinion.
Don, what's the Jets record?
Jets could be very good. I'll give them 12-5.
12-5. All right. So you have them right up there with the Bills.
Yeah, I really like the Jets. We've mentioned Garrett Wilson several times. He's from Westlake High School outside Austin, which has produced a lot of good players lately. Sam Mellinger, who played at Texas, he's now on the Detroit Lion roster. That's who was throwing, passes to Garrett Wilson, his senior year or Elgar's senior year. Garrett Wilson's a little bit younger, but he's a player. It came down between Ohio State and Texas when he was being recruited, and he decided to go Ohio State. But yeah, they're loaded. They kind of remind me of like we've been talking about Detroit in recent months. How Detroit is about to boil to the top. They're in that same category, I think.
So I guess let's see, Demetrius. The Jets lose to the AFC North and the Bills. What's your thoughts?
They play the NFC North. Is that what you said?
Because
I'm pretty sure. I don't have as much confidence in the Jets as Mr. Hayes does because I don't have that much confidence in their quarterback. I don't think their quarterback is there, not yet, and I don't know if he'll ever get there. So I have them as like a 7-win team. I love their draft. They've still got some holes. He was right in the comparison to the Lions, and I think both teams are at least a year away. I think we're going to make a big improvement this year. I like where we are. I think our year's next year. And I think if the Jets have another draft, manage their cap well, but I don't know that they have the answer to their quarterback situation yet. I'm not ready to give them double-digit wins with what I know about Zach right now. So I don't have that much confidence in their quarterback situation. That's why I have them at like a 7-win team. And they are playing. They're in. They got to play New England twice. They got to play Buffalo twice. I don't have them getting the double digits.
And they got to play the Lions.
And they got that loss to the Lions on the schedule for sure. And by the way, Jameson Williams is the best receiver in the draft.
Wrong. Just because he went to Detroit doesn't make him great.
We'll talk about this in 2 years.
Hey, you got to remember, Demetrius embraced Mr. Hutchinson, so
Right.
he's now a Detroit Lion, regardless of that.
I told you, 8-15 on draft night, that school didn't matter anymore. He's a Lion.
Dylan, what's the Jets' record?
Like when Donald said, what did you say, 12-5? Is that what he said? I was a little shocked by that, and again, like I get what you're saying, but I'm with Demetrius as well. They're on the up. They definitely are. With this draft, I think it definitely was the best draft. I think they're definitely getting that young talent. I think their quarterback situation could be a little bit better. I would see them maybe at 5-6 wins, maybe at that point. I think Zach Wilson. I think if he starts trusting his arm more and stops, trying to scramble as much, run around the pocket, I think, if he can learn to trust his arm a little bit more, I think that would be a huge step just for that team. And then, like what Demetrius said, I think in the next year or two, then I think they definitely can make that leap, with, possibly free agency, getting people wanting to come play for them, stuff like that.
Dylan, I'm going to stay with you as we move to the AFC West. How many teams from this division make the AFC playoffs?
Goodness gracious. Man, and I think it was Bill saying, like, you just have no idea what's going to happen in the AFC West. Like, you have, you just don't know. You can't even really, with Russell going to the Broncos. So is your question how many teams I can see making the playoffs?
How many teams do you think from the AFC West do you think will make the playoffs?
I'd say 2. I would just say 2 for now. Like guaranteed, I think 2 would make it. Yeah.
What do you think there, Chris? Too high, too low?
No, I think two's definitely the number. I think, you're definitely going to have the Chiefs in there. And then I definitely like the Raiders getting in there as well, for sure. So those would be my 2 teams. I don't think a third's going to make it. I think there's too much competition in the AFC this year. I think there's going to be a lot of good teams. So I think only two are going to come out of the AFC West.
Demetrius, how many you got?
Yeah, I'd like to say 3 because I love the Chargers, but it's just a math problem. They are going to play each other, and somebody's got to lose those games, right? So it might just end up being a math problem, and only 2 of them can make it. Because I like New England to win double-digit games in the East, so I don't. It's probably 2, but I like the Chargers. Chiefs and Chargers are my 2. I like the Raiders, and I wouldn't be shocked if it was 3, but I just don't know how you do that with math-wise. I don't know how it works.
Yeah.
Mike, what did you think about the Chiefs draft?
Let's see, the Chiefs draft. I have to look at it real quick because I don't really
Let's see,
remember.
Sky Moore and a couple other guys. Who was it?
Yeah, Sky Moore is really good. He should be sort of the mid-range, the intermediate kind of guy. He'll run a little bit deeper routes than Juju Smith-Schuster. They don't really have that Tyreek Hill guy. Sky Moore is like Tyreek Hill, but Tyreek Hill can run the 7, 8, 9 routes much better than Sky Moore can. And then they got Carl Aftis in the first round. That was their first pick, which is not someone to rush and get after the quarterback. That wasn't too bad. So overall, I think it was okay. Maybe B minus.
Bill, what did you think of the Chiefs draft?
I think they had a very good draft, and Karlaftis is one of those players we're going to look back and say, "Huh, we probably underestimated him a little bit." One of the younger players in an old draft, right? I think Karlaftis is barely 20 I guess he's 21 and a half, something like that. But he's one of the younger players in an old draft. A lot of 23 and 24-year-olds, and he's barely 21. I think Sky Moore is going to have an enormous impact on the team. I think, he's super productive and was a tremendous special teams player. Once again, if that's, something you're into. Other players that I think will end up helping or making an impact or showing up, I think that you're going to see some improved play. Now, obviously, we don't spend a lot of time talking about, what the Chiefs do on defense because all the talk on offense. But, I mean, it's worth mentioning, I think it's worth mentioning at least, that, when you look at what this team looks like on defense, and defense still matters. I mean, there's not no defense played. We like to joke about there being no defense played, but there's not literally no defense played in the NFL. I think their defense is going to be better this year. And, they moved up to get Trent McDuffie, so they clearly like him, and I think they think he can be, I think they believe he can be almost like a maybe not quite Tyrann Mathieu, but he can play outside, he can play inside. He's very smart, he's very tough. I like Brian Cook, sort of a old school tough guy safety, but maybe the biggest steal, or one of the biggest steals of this draft was Leo Chenal, right? I think he's going to show up on the field. He's going to play a lot even as a rookie. I think he's going to help a linebacker group. I'm an enormous fan of Joshua Williams, obviously, Fayetteville State kid, can play corner or safety, another guy who gives you versatility, big, strong, long, athletic. Loved what I saw of him in college, and I think he's going to continue to get better. They got another really good steal in Kennard, who can play tackle or guard, and I'll mention two other players I think will make an impact. Najee Johnson, the extremely athletic safety from Marshall, is going to help them on special teams as well. And watch out for Isaiah Pacheco in certain situations to take some snaps from maybe not so much from Ronald Jones, but maybe some snaps from Clyde Edwards-Helaire, because he's a lot like Helaire in terms of build and what he does well, but so much faster. One of the fastest players in the whole entire draft, in fact. Catches the ball reasonably well in the backfield, but he's unlike, Helaire, who's kind of a plotter. He's a blur. Yeah, they had a really good draft, actually.
Dylan, will losing Tyreek and Sammy make Mahomes rely on his own wheels a lot more this season?
Well, I think you're going to see. Oh, I thought you said Don. I'm sorry.
I thought you said Dylan. You might have said Donald.
No, it's Dylan.
Okay.
I don't think so. I think I definitely think oh man, I'm drawing. I just had his name. The short little running back from LSU, Williams.
Edwards-Helaire.
Say it again.
Wait.
Yeah, Edwards-Helaire. Yeah, Edwards-Helaire. That's what it is. I think with him, again, I don't. He's not the typical running back you want in the NFL size-wise, but I don't think Mahomes is going to have to do too much more with his legs than he already does. He's always that quarterback that can get you 6 yards if absolutely needed to. If he rolls out. I think still having Kelsey, I think it's going to help him out a lot more. I don't think we're going to have to worry about Mahomes. I don't think the Chiefs or Ed Reed or anybody's going to, not Ed Reed, sorry, Andy Reid is going to expect, or risk, getting Mahomes hurt for the sake of, rushing a few more times. So I don't think that'll be an issue.
What do you think, Demetrius?
About losing Sammy and Tyreek? I think that Andy Reid schemes guys open, right? I think they'll figure this out. They know how to draft. This is as a system team it is. I don't think you all of a sudden change your scheme and have Tyreek running. Mahomes running. I think you scheme open guys. I think Kansas City will continue to produce the types of offensive numbers they have during the entire Andy Reid era. I don't see that changing. And as much as I like both those guys, I think they prepared for it. I think they drafted for it, and I think they will barely miss a beat, if any, because I think the name that hasn't been mentioned, and I can count on one hand the number of non-Lions I like, and Travis Kelce is one of them. Travis Kelce is a massive weapon, right? He is so special. And they still got Travis Kelce, and somebody's going to be an idiot and put some outside linebacker that they think can drop back in coverage, and he's going to get embarrassed because that's what Travis Kelce does. And some nickels in this league get embarrassed by Travis Kelce. The Chiefs will be fine.
Yep.
Don, that O-line that Kansas City had was actually built for run blocking more than pass blocking. Do you think that Andy Reid will let his O-line really do its job this year? And who's going to be the starting running back? Edwards-Helaire?
I think so. I think that'll be the man. Yeah, their offensive line, they did a good job, I think, last year at the beginning of the year, but as the year went on, they kind of faltered a little bit, and Mahomes was having to run a little bit more than I think they want him to. But I think with the fact that Tyreek is no longer there, I think you're going to see a lot of the passes going to the tight end and running backs. I think, like previously mentioned, Kelsey's a beast, and I think to be in that system, the running backs have to be able to catch. So I think we'll see a lot more of that. And with that said, guys, I'm going to have to call it in. Even though I'm not in school right now, I have to get up early. I got to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
All right, Don, well, give us your last word before you go, my man.
Give us some final thoughts, man.
Okay, final thoughts. So tomorrow, I know we don't really talk about baseball a whole lot, but tomorrow the College World Series begins.
Yes, it does. Heck yeah.
And the Longhorns are in it, and they're in the same bracket with Oklahoma.
Let's go, Boomer!
And A&M.
Oh God, this is bad.
So,
Yeah, they got the northern part. They got Texas and Notre Dame, while Stanford has Arkansas, Ole Miss, and Auburn. So it should be really fun.
yeah, if you count Texas and Oklahoma, it's almost all SEC.
You're right. Yeah,
And I know Texas will go to the Big 12, but
you could call them SEC too. They're right there, right?
And so there's not good baseball being played in the SEC, and so I think Texas will fit in just fine. Actually, Texas has scoreboard on most of the SEC teams right now, so that's good. So that's my final thought. I'll be watching the Horns, and Ivan Melendez will see if he builds out some more home runs. So
maybe it'll be a Texas-Stanford World Series battle. That'd be fun.
It's happened before.
Yep.
All right, Don. Thanks so much, man.
Good to see you, Don.
Take care.
Have a great night.
Don.
See you, buddy.
Demetrius, what's the Chiefs' record?
I like the Chiefs. I do. I think they're the class of the best division in the league. I've got them, 13-4, something like that. I think they're the best team in that division, in a very good division. I don't think it's going to balance out and level out. I think they're still the cream of the crop. I've got them with 13 wins, and then I think a couple teams fall in behind.
Dylan.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna say 12-5. I'm gonna say there, just because what Demetrius said, the best division in sports. Definitely, I think they'll make the playoffs out of there as wild card division winner. But I'm thinking 12-5, somewhere around there.
Bill.
Yeah, I'll also sign on to 12-5. They're in an absolute murderer's row, and I think that early in the season, if you're going to beat them early. That's my advice. If you're going to beat the Chiefs, beat them early. I think that they're going to have a few rocky performances first 4 or 5 weeks of the season, and then once they get it going, it'll just be a reminder of just how good they can be when they're good, because when they're really good, I mean, there's not much you can do no matter what, right? So when they really get rolling, it doesn't look like any other team.
Right.
And there's a lot of good teams, but when they're really moving, when they're really rolling, it just makes you realize that like there's times when, just like when Steph Curry's on, it's like, oh well, why did we bother, right? I mean, when Sandy Koufax was at his prime, it's like, what did I put on this uniform for? Why did I brush my teeth? Why did I get out of bed? When the Chiefs are really rolling, no matter what you do, it's like they make everything you do wrong. But it'll take them a while to get to that. I think that they've had just enough change in just enough spots on their team that it'll take them just a little while to sync up. So, yeah, my advice is I wouldn't be surprised if they were like 2-3 at some point. And then click, right? And then it all starts to fit into place, and it's like, oh God, they're still the Chiefs.
Chris?
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Bill there. About the slow start with Kansas City, but if they do start slow this year, it could be tough because they're still opening up with Arizona, the Chargers, the Colts, the Bucs, the Raiders, the Bills in the first 6 weeks. So that's a tough gauntlet to open the season. So that could be, a rough start for them. I think they might be a little bit under what everyone's expecting. I'm gonna put them closer to maybe 11 wins. Because, a 1-win difference, whatever, maybe 10 or 11, because they are playing the AFC North, I believe. It looks like, they're playing Cincinnati. So Cincinnati's in the mix. Yeah. They're playing the AFC West. So they're going to play some tough teams this year, of course, in the NFC West as well. So they're going to see the Rams as well this year. So I think they're going to play a lot more tougher teams than they're expecting. So I think maybe that expectations will be tempered a little bit to more of a 11-win team.
Mike?
Yeah, I agree with Chris. I think this is going to be the year that they don't win the division. Whether it's going to be the Chargers or the Raiders who win the division. One will be 12-5, and the other one's going to be 11-6.
The Broncos, Demetrius, Russell Wilson, great expectations or instant gratification?
I honestly don't know what that means. So I'm going to say,
great expectations, making the Super Bowl. Instant gratifications, he makes him a playoff team.
Is there a third option?
Yeah.
That would be your option. So
okay, my option is whatever the third one's called. Yeah, because I just think the Chiefs are better, and I think the Chargers are better, and I think the Raiders are better. For lack of a better term, I think they're going to get 1 win in those 6 games, and none of this is a knock on Russ. They just happen to be in a division that I think was built for the word loaded. And if you force everybody on this panel to rank the teams, I don't know if any of these other 4 smart guys has them not in 4th place. Right. My guess is, knowing these 4 guys, I think they're in 4th place on everybody's chart. I'm certain. I believe the Chargers are a better team, and I really like the Raiders. So it becomes a math problem. If they lose 5 games in the division, which I don't think is out of the question, it gets really tough. It gets really tough to get to 10 wins if you're getting 5 of them in the division. So, yeah, this is the team that somebody in this division is going to be 8-9. It's unfortunate, but it's just math. And I was a pretty good math student. Somebody in this division is going 8-9, 9-8. I think it's Denver. So no, whatever the third option is, I like Russ. I get what they're trying to do. I like Jerry. I like a lot of players on this roster. I don't think they're better than any of the other 3 teams in their division. So,
Mike.
Yeah, I see. When I read this, I took it this way: instant gratification, as in, oh, we finally got a great quarterback. We don't have to rely on Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater or Ryan or the guy from the Ravens that they rented for half a season, and all of a sudden they finally have a great quarterback. Great expectations to me is, okay, now what is this great quarterback going to do? Is he going to take him to the playoffs? Is he going to take him to the Super Bowl? To me, it seems like it's going to be more instant gratification for the Broncos. They got a great quarterback, but are they going to go to the playoffs? Likelihood, no.
What's your thoughts on that, Chris?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with the panel here. Same thing. I think it's more instant gratification as well as a ploy for John Elway to, stay in his position. I think keeping a guy like Russell Wilson, makes him think like, hey, the fans are engaged. We got a quarterback here after suffering through Drew Lock. So definitely that's the move I feel like for Elway is to, play out the next year, see what's going to happen. But I think everyone's hit at this division is going to be very, very strong. And unfortunately, the Broncos might be the doormat of the division.
You agree, Bill, or disagree?
Yeah, I mean, I recently did a whole video about the AFC West and broke down the rosters and broke down, all that stuff. And I just couldn't find, once again, he said math, I couldn't find a way to get them over 500. I got them close. So if you say instead of them going 1-5, you say instead they pick up another win, they get to 2-4 in their division. Even then, it's tough, but maybe, right? Maybe they fight their way to 9-8. But it's going to be such a dogfight for them, and they don't have tremendous depth at some positions. I like their wide receiver group. They're pretty solid at running back. Their offensive line is, for Russ, I guess it's certainly a step in the right direction. It's not the sieve that he once had in his days in Seattle, but it's not a juggernaut exactly. They've got a couple of players I really like on defense, and speaking of, somebody's talking about young safeties are going to get paid. Justin Simmons is going to get paid very soon. So don't worry. He won't, like I said, he won't be number one for much longer. Just in the AFC West, there's 2 young safeties that are going to get deals soon. They're going to probably push him down the safety pay board pretty quickly. When it comes time to, there's going to be some money distributed to young safeties who are superstars very soon. But yeah.
Now, who got paid, Bill? Was it Denzel Ward or was it Derwin James? Who got the contract? I forget.
Did they already pay Derwin? I'm trying to do
I always mix him up with
Denzel Ward. Yeah, Denzel Ward got paid.
I mixed the two of
Ward
them.
got paid, so Derwin is still getting his deal, and it'll be a big deal. He'll
be the highest paid.
Whatever it is, it'll be worth it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm going to say just missing 500. So I guess I don't know. The instant gratification is at least being set at quarterback. So yes, the instant gratification, but they're not a team quite yet that's ready to make the playoffs. And if they somehow made it, they wouldn't stay long.
What's their record going to be, Mike?
Oh, we got him.
I think they're the bottom feeders of this, but they're not bad either. They're not. When usually you have a bottom feeder out of the division, they're like 5-12 or something to that effect. And they might be around there, but that team wise, I think they're better. 6-11. If they're the bottom feeder, I just don't know who the bottom feeder is going to be. They might not be the bottom feeder. So if they are, then 6-11.
What do you have their record as, Demetrius?
I feel like they can get 7 wins. I got them to 7. I struggled to get an 8th. I was trying to be like Bill and get them to 500, and the math just didn't come close. So I'm going to go 7-10 to be generous, but Mike might be right.
What do you think there, Chris?
Yeah, I'm looking at their schedule right now. I'm thinking they're going to probably be like a 5 or 6 win team this year, but it could be interesting. They might be one of the better teams by their bye week because they open up in their first 8 weeks. They got to play Seattle, they play Houston, they play San Francisco, they play the Jets, and they play Jacksonville. So they could potentially, if those are 5 wins, they could be 5-3 going into the bye week and then possibly never win a game the rest of the year except they play Carolina. Yeah, I'll give them 6 wins.
I'd love a good wheels coming off the train story.
I love it too.
That's going to be fun to watch.
Prime candidate, Denver Broncos. You're going to see Russell Wilson's going to be like, is he an MVP candidate heading into bye week? And then they're going to win one more game the rest of the year.
There goes that.
Dylan, how many TDs Carr did Hill?
I think that's supposed to be Devontae.
Wait, this is
Adams.
rated.
You talking about Devontae Adams?
Yeah.
Devontae.
Yeah, Adams.
I mean, yeah, Adams. I'm sorry.
Ooh, man. I think it's going to be a good amount. I think I think with Hunter Renfrow being a pretty good threat close to the end zone, I think that's definitely going to open up Devontae as well. I'm going to say a good 10, 11 touchdowns. Nothing crazy. But I think it's going to be pretty good. Unless they just end up gelling and just meshing so well. Then they can have like a huge stat line of like 14, 15, 16 touchdowns, but I'd say somewhere around like 11, 12.
Chris.
Yeah, I'm expecting him to kind of battle, I think, with guys like Jamar Chase for top touchdown guys in the AFC this year for sure. I put him at about a 13 number this year. You got that chemistry with Carr. You got guys like Hunter Renfrow. You got Darren Waller as well, just taking that extra attention off. I feel like Devontae was kind of that main guy in Green Bay, so he took a lot of attention, allowed some other guys to flourish, where now maybe those guys can take attention off of him, give him the opportunity to flourish. So I'm thinking a big year for Devontae Adams, possibly 13, maybe even 15 touchdowns.
Bill, will the lack of depth at wide receiver and O-line be the demise of the Raiders?
Well, I mean, demise is a strong word. I think it will at some times rise up and bite them. Depth is something that teams care a little about until they need it, right? A few teams really build it in when they put their roster together, but most teams don't. Most teams really concentrate on their starters, and a few teams really value finding guys where there's not a huge drop-off from the number one to the number two behind him. But if they're able to avoid injury, which is a huge if, I think this team makes a big jump up from where it was last year. I think they have the right staff to develop players, and I think they have a lot more of the right players in place.
Mike?
Yeah, their offensive line did pretty good last year. They protected Carr all right, so I'm not too worried about their offensive line. The defensive line, they lost Yannick Ngakoue to the Colts. That's probably going to hurt. So I'm more concerned about their defensive side than their offense. But, yeah, I mean, anytime you don't have that, it's going to be a problem one way or the other. That's where the championships are won. And lack of depth in a wide receiver, I don't know.
I don't.
It's let me see. I'm going to look at their depth chart right now.
They've got one of the top 3 in the league. So depth is overrated when 17's on the field. That's my struggle with that. And Darren Waller offsets that as well. So to me, you telling me I can have what's that, Chris? I think I hear you. You might be muted. I can't hear you.
Oh shit! Yeah, turn my stuff down because I was watching. Yeah, so I say as a combo. Sorry, Demetrius, I didn't want to interrupt you, but wide receiver, tight end trio, they're definitely up there.
Right.
Yeah.
Renfrow, Adams, and Waller. I like that group. I don't see
Right,
that as an issue.
but remember what they did a spell without Waller last year. Production fell off. Now, that's what I'm saying. Like, what if Waller goes down, or if you have 2 of your wide receivers go down?
Then you're right. Yeah.
Carr does not have. He's not going to put him on his back.
Yeah, you're right. I think O-line is probably a better part of that question. And ultimately, to Bill's point, demise is a really strong word. I don't think demise.
When I say demise, because I'm thinking at least 2 or 3 teams make it out of this division into the playoffs. Will it be the Raiders or the Chargers that miss out?
Yeah, and what you're saying, that could be the difference. That's the difference between them making the wild card. Yeah.
Right. Demetrius, do you think the Raiders will sign Kaepernick or maybe one of the other names available?
Quick and easy. No. Quick and easy. They got a quarterback. They don't need to put any more money in that, but they got a quarterback. They got a really good quarterback. No.
That's their starter.
Correct. I don't care about backup quarterbacks. My philosophy on backup quarterbacks is if your starter's hurt, it doesn't matter. You're in trouble.
You're in trouble anyway.
Right? Now, I'm not the guy who's going to put huge money into a backup. A, I don't need my starter looking over his shoulder. And B, The injury is random. Unless you got a guy who's coming off an injury, maybe. But if your starting quarterback gets hurt in the National Football League, you need to start scouting for the draft. Because that's really should be your focus at that point. A significant injury at quarterback is going to cost you games. I don't care what team you are. That's just
Dylan. What's your thoughts on backup quarterback for the Raiders? Or will they stand pat?
Yeah, and I'm with you. I don't think they'd sign anybody else. I'm with Demetrius on this one. I think that they're set. And for a team like the Raiders, if their starting quarterback does go down, then that's just kind of how the season's going to end for them, right? They'll try to save face as much as they can. I don't think that anyone's going to drop big money. Let's say for a type of backup quarterback. We'll see what happens. Like if the Deshaun Watson thing gets figured out, or Garoppolo, see if he gets dealt, whatever. I think that's going to change a couple of things. I don't know, but I don't think the Raiders are going to
signed a big deal, right?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I'm thinking like that's going to affect some other stuff. I think the Raiders are not going to really
strictly from a cap standpoint. You can't put that much money in the quarterback room.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't.
And I'm thinking like if another team picks up one of those quarterbacks, they might drop someone else off to bring on, as a backup. But I don't think that's gonna affect the Raiders, too much at all.
Bill, what's the Raiders' record gonna be?
Oh, he is focused, man. He is focused. That's that Bill Carroll focus. Boop boop, Mr. Carroll.
Bill.
William McCorkle Jones.
I guess he
Bill.
can't hear us once again. We
Yes,
can't hear you.
Yes, you, bro. We're talking to you.
Okay, you can hear me now?
Yes.
Raiders record.
I'll go 11-6.
Chris.
Yeah, I like that number. I'm going to go about 10-11 win season for the Raiders this year. I like them. I think they might have that edge over the Chargers as far as that second team in. It's definitely going to be the thing to watch is are there going to be 3 teams out of the West or is it going to be 2 and who are those 2 going to be? But I'm going to give the Raiders the edge.
Dylan.
I'm gonna go 10-7. I'm gonna say they'll be probably above the Broncos. I'll go 10-7.
I feel like you just pulled that out of your ass, like you didn't know that question was coming.
1,000%, Demetrius. 1,000%. Yes.
Mike.
Wow.
12-5. They're the team that's going to upset the Chiefs in this season. I'm picking the Raiders. The Raiders.
Demetrius.
Because I've already told you how I feel about Kansas City, and I'm about to tell you how I feel about the Chargers. I have the Raiders at 9-8.
Okay.
You're wrong. It's 12-5.
Okay. I've been wrong before. I mean, not often. Not often. I think it's happened. It's rumored to have happened.
It might have happened.
Right. No evidence, but I've heard the story.
Well, Demetrius, you've been talking about the Chargers all night here in the AFC West, and the starting right tackle is.
I don't have a clue who their starting right tackle is. Bill. That's a Bill. I'll look it up, but I don't know. But that's not why they're going to win 11 games. So I'll tell you.
Well, you have to have
their starting right tackle is Storm Norton. That's the answer to that question. But the reason they're going to win 11 games is not Storm Norton. It is largely Justin Herbert. It is a gentleman that Bill finds a way to reference in almost every podcast. Why? Because Derwin James is just that good, right? They have star players on this team, and I think that they have put together a roster that I like. I like Keenan Allen. I like Mike Williams. I think they are. Love Isaiah Spiller, by the way. That's my sort of under the radar dude. I like Justin Herbert a ton. And I mentioned something about the Jet earlier when Don made that outrageous Jet prediction, and all you guys just sat there and let him say that shit. I'm the only one who's like, wait a minute. He said the New York Jets. I'm sorry.
12 wins.
Even 12 wins for the Jets.
12.
I saw Dylan's eyes flicker.
I was gonna say I was
like,
trying to hold back.
Right. And Chris just gave a. I think Chris was neck deep in a basketball game.
Did you guys see the ESPN guy that picked the Jacksonville Jaguars to win the Super Bowl?
Oh God. Okay.
So
love the Chargers for a lot of reasons. Storm Norton is the starting right tackle for the record. To answer the question.
Mike, is that going to be their starting right tackle, or is that the hole that they have to fill?
I don't even know who Storm Norton is. Norton.
Sounds like a weatherman.
I got dynasty guys that don't know these. Oh my goodness. Okay, go ahead.
Part of Central Florida, Mike.
But I just don't think your right tackle.
The Central Florida guy. Yeah.
A hole at right tackle isn't going to stop you from winning the game.
I mean,
you can scheme around a hole at right tackle.
He's got a better shot probably in landing in the role on the new Honeymooners than he does actually the San Diego Chargers or Los Angeles Chargers.
He can drive a bus. Let's go.
Yep. Him.
All right, we need to pick this up. Chris is yawning. It's midnight in Boston.
Hey, we're on the last topic. We're
on the last
we're there. You're right. We're there. My bad.
We're at the finish line, and I just had to go through the whole game.
So, what are the questions? Oh yeah. So, what about that D line there, Bill? How the D goes? The Chargers go? True or false?
That there's some truth to that. As we've just mentioned, they're going to play a lot of really explosive offenses. And yes, I do manage to reference Derwin James a great deal because, and I don't compare anybody, quite frankly, to Sean Taylor. But if I were to compare anybody to Sean Taylor, it would probably be Derwin James. And he's so special. And unfortunately, we get screwed because NFL broadcasts don't show us the All-22. If you actually got to watch what Derwin James does from snap to snap to snap, and where he makes plays where he doesn't make the play, right? But where he takes away throwing lanes. Like he does so many things that you can only see if you are like either at field level or All-22 or they put like a GoPro on the quarterback so you can see him trying to find Derwin James before he decides what he's going to do with the ball. So the Chargers are a very, very, very dangerous team. And I don't think that's, surprising anybody. And while I think they might end up with the same record as the Chiefs, and I think the Chiefs might get them on head-to-head, I might end up being wrong on that. I really like. And once again, okay, from a dynasty standpoint, a lot of people are going to pick up Joshua Palmer. That's smart of you. If you did, you probably didn't have to pay too much to get him. I think he eats a little bit into Mike Williams' production a little, but Williams will still be fairly productive. Keenan Allen is Keelan Allen. He's bulletproof. LaShawn Slater is a franchise left tackle. Filer's I really like Corey Lindsey. That's a really good signing. If for some reason Storm Norton absolutely fell on his face, Norton, as somebody said, fell on his face, they would just kick Zion Johnson, who has played some right tackle in his collegiate career, out to that, and then move up maybe a guy like Will Clapp or Jamari Sallier or Trey Pipkins or somebody into that guard spot. Herbert's a star, becoming a superstar. I love their running backs. They have a tremendous running back room. All of their running backs are good. There's not a single running back. Oh, that guy. Nope, none of them suck. Okay, so to the defense, though. To me, the key are these two players. One, healthy Joey Bosa, which is not always what you have, but a healthy Joey Bosa. If Khalil Mack, he doesn't have to be the Khalil Mack of old. He just has to not be old Khalil Mack. If you get what I think you're going to get from Khalil Mack and Tillery, Johnson, and Joseph Day just sort of hold the fort, and they get a little bit of something from Fehoko, Obanaya, and Covington in rotation, they're going to be trouble. And quickly on their secondary, right? Nazir Adderley is sort of their Ryan Clark, right? You know how Ryan Clark was not super exciting, but he allowed Troy Polamalu to be Troy Polamalu. Similar deal. Nasir Adderley being solid, dull as dishwater, but solid, allows them to say to Derwin James, Derwin, if you see it, go do the thing you see. They also, speaking of the track team at Baylor, they got JT Woods to back up Adderley and to play, I think, sometimes in some of those big nickel situations. Asante Samuel is really good, and an underrated free agent signing is Bryce Callahan coming over from Denver.
Yep.
I really like that team.
So give me a record. And
I gave you a
final
little tricks already.
Okay.
I gave you at the beginning of the soliloquy, but the
I love that you knew that was a soliloquy and admitted it, and just openly admitted it. Didn't even try to hide. Didn't even run from it.
I didn't come here to lie to the people. I mean, that's not what I came here to do. But to my final thoughts, we just witnessed, and I apologize if this causes pain to anyone, but Wardell Stephen Curry Jr. Is a player that a lot of people doubted when he was coming out of Davidson. He was, and I remember, of all people, Doug Gottlieb taking him to task and not liking him. It's like, Doug, this is the guy you should be rooting for. He's a better version and slightly browner version of you. But you have this guy who's not super athletic, not incredibly explosive, not quite big enough to be a two guard, not quite quick enough to be a point guard, all the stuff, right? A liability on defense. And he worked really hard at the weaknesses in his game. And he's never become a great defender. He never will be a great defender. He doesn't have to be. But he's a pesky, annoying defender. He makes some nice little, you understand, to play the passing lanes. He gets a decent number of steals. He has more steals per year than Kyrie Irving. He's not as good a defender as Kyrie Irving, but it just shows you his basketball IQ. Just like Larry Joe Bird was not a great on-ball defender. In fact, he was a bad on-ball defender, but he really understoed passing.
You're really trying to piss Chris off tonight, aren't you?
I know.
Wow, what did Chris do to you, Bill?
No, he wasn't a good on-ball defender. He would tell you, I'm not a good on-ball defender. Like he said, I'm playing zone out there, even when we're playing man. He would say this because he knew himself. But he was a really good player of the passing lanes. I'm pointing out that Bird and Wardell Stephen Curry have a lot in common, except, the 6 inches in height and, of course, a little bit of pigment. But they both maximize and a body that shouldn't allow them to be that great, right? Just as Thomas Edward Patrick Brady shouldn't be as great as he is and as durable as he is with a body he's worked on it. His body's better than it was when he came out of college, but it's not an elite best of all-time athlete body, but he's managed to become an elite best of all-time athlete. And to do that, you have to do other stuff. So he's focused himself on, first of all, developing this one talent, this one skill. There's some genetics in there because I saw Wardell Stephen Curry Sr., who was a terrific quarterback also. For those who didn't see him play high school football, terrific high school quarterback. But he smartly realized, one, there's way fewer hits, and you can do things without, first of all, not all that weightlifting. Like it's not quite as rough, right? But he was a terrific multi-sport athlete. Both played with Charlie Moyer, with the Hokies, with Bimbo Coles is a terrific backfield. Not backfield.
How did we get from? Well, no, that's your final thoughts. Go ahead.
Because it's his son, or it's just right. So I'm pointing out the acorn doesn't fall off of like a turnip, right? The acorn falls off the oak tree. The oak tree is Wardell Stephen Curry Sr., who deserves to get some flowers too. But the point I am making is this tweener, that some people thought couldn't play point guard, couldn't play two guard, and couldn't defend it all in the NBA. And that people doubted he'd be able to get his shot off. Why? Because he's not tall, he's not super quick. He's not going to take people off the dribble, supposedly, right? He's going to have to be a spot-up shooter and run around screens. Well, he's done that and done that better than anyone else in the history of the game. But he's also shown he can take people off the dribble. And he's one of the best under-the-rim finishers I've seen since, I know it's going to get me in trouble with my good friend Demetrius, but one of the best under the rim finishers I've seen is Isaiah Lord Thomas. He is a tremendous below the rim finisher. The third. Isaiah Lord Thomas the third. But he's a tremendous below the rim finisher. Now, Isaiah was physically a better athlete than Wardell Stephen Curry Jr. But I just want to point out that this player that so many people doubted coming out of Davidson hammered away at his weaknesses and made them at least a little bit better, and then sharpened his strength to the point that it can cut a diamond. And so when we're evaluating players, and that's what I do a lot of, don't just look at what they can't do, but look at not only what they can do, but look at what drives them and see if maybe they've got a little extra something, like having a father who was a terrific shooter, or having a person who has that pettiness of greatness of pettiness. Oh, you don't think I can play in the league? Oh, okay. Oh, I got Drake taken too early in the draft. Oh, okay, we'll see about that. Number 11 is too early? Okay, all right, bet. There are certain players that all they need is a little bit of disrespect. Just a little, right? That's all they need. They don't need a lot, just a little bit of disrespect, and that's all they need. And right? That's all I needed. That's all he needed was that tiny little disrespect, and he's built an entire career, along with the other stuff I talked about, off of it. That is my final thought.
Chris, Chargers final record and your final thoughts.
Yeah, sure. So I'm thinking Chargers. Like I said, I think they're going to be, that third team out of the West. I'm thinking, 10, 11 wins for them as well. They also could start out hot on the season with their schedule. But now to the final thoughts, boys. So obviously the Celtics didn't win. It's funny. I was ready to come on and say, like, man, I don't know anyone who questions that Steph Curry is not the greatest shooter of all time after just watching what he did. And then he hit that three and did that sleep thing, and my blood hasn't stopped fucking boiling since then. And he's become an enemy to me. And I didn't plan on the night ending this way. I didn't think Steph Curry would become an enemy of mine, but he has, which is unfortunate. Because I did like Steph Curry, and my best friend's daughter's a big Steph Curry fan, and she already sent me a video about how they won. So, yeah, my blood is really boiling for Steph Curry right now. But, again, I think, it was a great run for the Celtics, a very infuriating run. I'm going to say that. A lot of turnovers this last game. I'm sure you guys saw me up and down. A lot of my reaction were to them turning the ball over so much. And I also feel bad for Jason Tatum right now because he's going to get flamed until next season right now. He had 13 points tonight, and I think all of them were in the first half. You saw me saying he was a ghost in the third quarter. I don't think he hit a shot the rest of the game. So he's going to have a rough offseason. Jalen had a good game as well, but, he had his issues in Game 5 with turnovers. So a lot of things to talk about this season. It didn't end on the best note, but a good season for the Celtics. I'm excited for the future, but
yeah,
these poor Jason Tatum's gonna have a rough summer. And then lastly, as always, tune into my podcast, a bit inside podcast, a bit inside pod on Twitter and Instagram.
All right, my man. Look forward to talking to you next week. Dylan, Chargers record and final thoughts.
Chargers record. I think this is a Chargers year and I know this is the gauntlet division, right? But I think, I know Khalil Mack's on probably the other side of his career, but I think the addition of Khalil Mack's going to be a big help for that defense. I see them going, I'm going to say 13-4. I think they're going to have a tremendous year this year. I think Justin Herbert's going to take that next step as well. So I'm going to take them at 13-4. And my final thoughts, Demetrius, you didn't say who you're going to talk about in the College Football Hall of Fame. I'm almost certain it's not going to be this person. But I'm going to a Homer final thought, talking about a former Oklahoma Sooner. We're going to talk about Dewey Selman, a two-time All-American from 74-75, two-time back-to-back national champion on the Switcher team, looking to join his brother Leroy in the College Football Hall of Fame, which would be pretty awesome. One stat that stood out to me was he had his 2 years there. He had 2 100 tackle seasons at the nose guard position, which is insane. The dude is a monster. Yeah, and I can't wait. I think next year on campus in Norman, They're going to unveil a statue of all three Selman brothers that played for OU at the same time. They were just amazing. So I'm just really hoping Dewey gets into the College Football Hall of Fame and joins his brother. That would be a really, really cool thing around our area for sure.
Mike, record and final thoughts.
Record for the Chargers, 10-7. Final thought is 4, and it takes 4 wins to win the opening round. It takes 4 wins to win the second round, and it takes 4 wins to win your Western Conference champions. And then once you get into the championship, it takes another 4 wins to win it all. And the Golden State Warriors not only are the champions, but for the 4th time since 2015,
4th time in 8 years.
Is champions once again. I'm sorry, Chris. It had to come on the Boston Celtics team.
It's free reign tonight. Bring it on.
Yeah. Outside of, I know how tough it is to watch your team lose a championship because Warriors have done it twice. It's also pretty exciting to see the team that you root for since I was
you're a Warriors guy.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Oh, thank you. Many years of frustration, I tell you. But yeah, it's good to see them finally win again.
Well, Demetrius, I let your tease go all the way through the show, and I let you have the last word. So,
awesome.
Chargers record and final thoughts.
Okay, so I like the Chargers to finish 11-6. I think they're the second best team in this division. I laid out all the reasons why. So we're going to play. My final thoughts are a game of guess who Demetrius' all-time favorite athlete is. No, guess who Demetrius' favorite human being who happened to play professional sports. That's how I feel about this dude. So I'm just going to give the facts, and I don't know if Bill's listening or not. Bill will probably guess because of where he's from. Bill's got a lot of knowledge of that region. You guys might. This might be an age thing, though. So this particular guy was a 1990 first-team All-American, finished 6th in the Heisman Trophy voting. He holds the NCAA record for the highest average gain per reception, 22 yards per reception, with a minimum of 105 catches. 1990 first-team All-ACC, finished his career at the University of Virginia as their all-time leader in receiving yards and touchdown catches.
And the indoor champion in the high jump, too.
And the indoor champion high jump. I knew Bill would know it because Bill's a big Virginia guy in that area. So the Lions took him with the 10th pick in the 1991 draft in the first round. He played at the same time as Jerry Rice and Michael Irvin. Keep that in mind. But he made 4 Pro Bowls, 3-time first-team All-Pro. Set all that aside, he is bright. He is articulate. He is a fantastic dude. He has done a ton of stuff in the community. He's never been in trouble. He has dedicated him and his wife to the city. He is just a really good dude who happened to play his entire career. Forget some rumor you hear that he signed with the Giants. He never played. Forget that. That doesn't count. He is literally my all-time favorite. And if I can, this is my dream guest on my podcast. And I'm literally working on getting him. Right?
Oh,
I've got
man.
a connection. I've got a connection, and I'm working on it. It's my dream. Look, put it this way. Most of my passwords for everything, the number 84 is in. That's what it is. This is a team that had Barry Sanders, who I like. This is my all-time favorite human being who happened to play professional sports. And anybody want to guess, or do I just go ahead? I know
who it is.
I know his first name.
What's his first name?
Herman, right?
Herman Moore. Yeah.
So Moore. That's it. Yep.
My all-time favorite player is Herman Moore.
Wow.
Everything I just said stands. He should be in the College Hall of Fame. I don't think he quite did enough to get the consideration. He's in Bill Carroll's Hall of Very, Very Good.
Hall of Very, Very Good.
NFL player. He's in the Hall of Very, Very Good. He's in the Lions Ring of Honor. He's in the Michigan Sports Hall of Fame. He's in the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame. Yep. He is, and I think part of it is because he played at a time that there were just next level guys, and he wore our jersey. And that's always, you get a knock when you wear the blue and silver. But if I had a Mount Rushmore of underrated individuals who happen to play pro sports, Herman Moore is on that Mount Rushmore for me. He's just, that's my guy. Like I said, 84 is in most of my passwords. And I got a contact, and I'm super excited that I got a shot to get him on the cornbread and Kool-Aid. And
that would be awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, hey, thank everybody for
you guys.
Stepping in tonight. We appreciate
Congrats,
it.
Mike. Sorry, Chris. Dylan. Keep Ron Burgundy in the podcast next week.
I was going to compliment Dylan on the Anchorman pause.
Right,
also,
keep Ron Burgundy.
That actually has my face photoshopped on it, to be honest.
I thought it looked weird, but the light was on it. But I know what the pose is.
Also, Bill giving Doug Gottlieb his greatest compliment ever, saying that he was Steph Curry. I mean, I didn't see Doug Gottlieb play, but I thought that was
kind of nice. I said Steph Curry was a slightly darker, more athletic version of Doug Gottlieb.
Yeah.
And
obviously better at everything than Doug. But I'm saying that a guy that isn't quite the right size, isn't super explosive, isn't super long, like none of the stuff that people tend to say, oh, this guy's going to be great, right?
I'm going to create, look, right now, do not ever mention Doug Gottlieb's name in the same sentence with anybody last name Curry. I don't care who it is. Nobody. Not even Aisha Curry. I don't want to hear his name mentioned with anybody Curry.
Even Riley, you don't think you can stick Riley
either. Exactly. Hey, good time, guys.
Have a good night, guys.
See you next week, boys.
All right.